Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 67. I'm your host Mo, and I'm joined once again by my oath-swearing friends Villy.
That's me.
And Jody.
With a recognizable voice.
Bonjour, mon amis.
Oh God, here we go.
No.
Back to square one.
I added the mon ami to make it different, because now it's a completely different thing.
Yeah, so now it sounds like there's 4 people on this podcast.
Sure.
Jody, Villy, Mo, and the French person.
Uh-huh. That's how French people sound. Sorry to all the French people listening.
Yeah, that was offensive, Joe.
It's how I roll.
I'll tell you what's not offensive is 3 straight chapters about Egwene.
Yeah, to a degree. It's a bit much, I'll tell you. There's a lot of padding in these chapters that is not Egwene.
There is. And I mean, certainly at first blush, right? Like, I feel like this is also becoming one of my go-to broken record adages, but I started off these chapters going, uh-oh, this is going to be boring. There's not much happening here. But by the time I'd sort of made all my notes and laid it all out, I realized that there was actually quite a lot happening here, and I really did enjoy it. Obviously, with Egwene being all 3 points of view, we're focusing in on her and her whole situation as Amerlin. Her link to Rand, the Wise Ones, the rebel Aes Sedai themselves, and the rebel army are all put under the microscope. So it's really like setting up how Egwene fits into the grand scheme of things. And sometimes with really cool outcomes and sometimes much less so. But yeah, I overall actually quite enjoyed it.
Most of my notes are questions. I have so many questions.
Great. Come to the right place.
Well, I have many answers and, as always, many wild theories.
Tangents.
Excellent.
I have wild theories here abound. There's answers is never ending. It's maybe not the right answer, but I have them. I've got them queued up, ready to just spill out my mouth. But there's a few things that I've picked up that I think you might enjoy, Mo.
Oh, I'm enjoying the fact that you've said that you've picked up on things. I'm already rubbing my hands together with glee.
He's not really people. It's just an expression.
Shh.
I can see
Jody.
it. It's all lies.
This Joe, you're gonna love this. You know that there's a guy that spent a tremendous amount of his free time to write a application that you install on your device that authenticates you using LOL in any way, shape, or form. So if you reply saying lol and you didn't laugh out loud and the microphone did not hear you, it says this is not authenticated. It's an unauthenticated lol.
Amazing.
Great use of resources and time.
This is
Yes.
beautiful. It's perfect. Let's move on.
It's the kind of thing I love hearing about someone else doing. I'm never going to install that add-on. Okay, well, if everyone is ready for questions and answers, then I know a great place we can go for exactly that. And it is this little space at the back of the podcast everyone likes to call callbacks. Billy, you were talking about Robert Jordan mixing points of view into a single chapter, and that possibly that being a new mechanic that he's introducing. At least in a way that isn't as clearly switched between as before, because I had the exact same reaction to you, specifically to that very first chapter that we covered in the last episode. So I went and I checked, and I couldn't find any further evidence in those chapters of POV mixing. But like I said, I did have the same confusion. So I think it can be laid squarely at the feet of the first word of the first chapter, which is a parent point of view chapter. But the very first sentence starts with Rand. The very first word is Rand. And then it describes how he's leaving the throne room in between all those people. And Rand is moving and the Ashaman in relation to Rand and blah, blah. It's only like 2 or 3 paragraphs into the chapter where it becomes obvious, oh, it's Perrin observing Rand. Now, the chapter icon is a wolf.
And that is a change of mechanics.
It's still Perrin's point of view. He's still observing Rand.
Yes.
So it's not a change.
Here we go.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is
Get ready,
that
everyone.
as opposed to being in the position that we for so long, and because we talk about these things chapter by chapter by chapter, you pick up the pattern that it is very quick to sit and make notes, and it has been up until now to sit and go and write chapter number, chapter name, point of view, and by the time I've written point of view, I could determine where we were. And this was for a very long time that I could say, Egwene, Tom, Matt, and it just kept going on like that. And this all of a sudden,
This sounds
I
like a
found
Villy
now
problem.
recently, okay, is it? We take it a little bit further. Only now, recently, I would sit and say like, oh no, hell's no, scratch it out. It's not. It's wrong. So it is different to what it was. I've picked up a pattern. I haven't I mean, we're reading a book that is about pattern. I've picked up a pattern in a book that is, I mean,
Or a break
if
from a
there's
pattern.
anything more meta
that's all the
than
proof you
meta
need.
is a pattern within a pattern. Patternception.
words
or
out of my
something
mouth.
like that. But
I was going to go with patception, but your patternception is better.
Maybe what's happening, this is pure speculation, is we are conditioned to the first name, like when you're reading a chapter, you're trying to put yourself in the shoes or behind the eyes of the person that the point of view of that chapter is from. That is instinctual. We're all doing that constantly. Maybe what Robert Jordan is doing is he's not just spoon feeding it to you in the very first sentence. That is what I would imagine if I had to write a book, which I have never done. That is what I would do. So maybe that's like a novice writer's thing, like maybe Robert Jordan, as he's becoming a more accomplished author, maybe he is trying to move away purposefully from using the person's name in the very first sentence, because that can also be kind of restricting. So, I mean, you're quite right. Maybe this is the first time it's happened. I have not gone and checked every chapter that we've read up until now to verify that. But if you are noticing that in the way that you are taking notes, then, I mean, who am I to argue with that?
hey, that's one of my things, my strength. I just see changes in patterns all the time.
Okay.
I might have a talent with a capital T.
Very nice.
I think you have a couple. Then we asked, when does Rand have his Zen moment on Dragonmount? And I was wondering, like, Villy, having not read A Memory of Light, have you read it before or not? It's chapter 50 of book 12.
I was going to
In
say
the Gathering Storm. Really? Well,
Yes.
yes, it's the very last chapter called Veins of Gold. It's Rand that has this like existential crisis, basically. He goes up on Dragonmount and he's raging against the futility of it all and why does he do this? And Lews Therin is talking to him in his head and actually sounding a lot more sane than what Rand is. And then Rand channels a shit ton of Saidin through the Kuden Kal and channels it back into the Kuden Kal and actually destroys it
Yes.
in the process.
Yes, I remember this.
News to me.
And from that moment on, Rand never hears Lews Therin's voice in his head again. And when he walks away from there, he says something. Actually, wait, let me follow this link quickly and I'll read it. So in that chapter, Rand opens his eyes for what seems the first time. He has a strange feeling that he will never hear Lews Therin's voice inside his head again. They were not two different men and had never been. He looks into the sky and he sees the sun's rays through the gloom. He smiles and lets out a rich and true laugh. And that's how book 12 ends. So they were never two different people. They were never two different entities in his head. And people had written in about this before. And I think maybe even the original email that, I term as posing a theory, but I mean, they were probably just stating what is known about the books already. But that to me almost conclusively says, well, yes, Rand in that moment admits that he has always been Lews Therin. They were never two separate people. He always had his memories, which we never had any kind of doubt about. But the sort of the dichotomy of Rand versus Lews Therin was a false one. They were actually the same person the whole time. He was having a conversation with himself.
Silence.
See, I didn't want future information spoiling our pathway to this.
Yeah, man.
I wanted it to be
I
natural.
had another 5 books of
like
fighting
we're eventually
this.
getting there, but now we've got to fight this. I Well, what am I going to do now? What fodder do I have left? I'm like a comedian. I need something to chew on.
Well, there goes the next 3 years of podcasts, guys.
Now we've got nothing to talk about.
Nothing, Moritz. You've ruined everything.
No, just I'm just going to start tearing out the pages that's related to this.
Look, I'd be remiss if I didn't include Jacob's contribution to the same conversation, because he went and did some homework. Like, you guys asked, he says, you guys asked about what happened, and would someone please read The Gathering Storm and let you know? Well, I did, at least from the last part of it, and I also found some quotes from Brandon Sanderson and Robert Jordan. Robert Jordan said that Lewis is a disembodied voice that refuses to believe he is a disembodied voice. And Brandon Sanderson has said he won't really clarify because Robert Jordan didn't want to reveal the information. He does say that the taint was also influential, but not the only factor for hearing Lewis. Also, after Rand becomes Zen Rand, he doesn't hear the voice of Lewis anymore. So I'll say this, the voice gets worse as Rand resents his role as the dragon. He feels like he has no choice and no hope, and he fights against it. He gets physically ill when he tries to channel, even after the taint is cleansed. My new opinion is that Lewis's memories are in his head as the Dragon Reborn, and the taint is making it seem like he has another person living in his head, even though he doesn't. So the madness of the taint might have helped drive that wedge between the two voices when they were actually one and the same person. Thanks, Jacob.
That makes so much sense. Angers me.
I know. It's kind of embarrassing that we've been talking about it for so long.
Maybe that's why I stopped listening to our own recordings. So I can just pretend it never happened now.
Well, now you can come back, Joe. I think it's fit to bed.
Yeah, I've become Zen Jody.
Zen Ogre. We were wondering about Natrin's Barrow, and I fired off a brave and brazen guess that it is Grandal's fortress, and it is, in fact, Grandal's fortress in Aradoman that Rand destroys with a massive blast of balefire. And everyone inside it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grendel escapes, though, but who doesn't escape is Delana and Halima, who are there.
Well, good riddance.
That's how they meet their end, which is great.
Excellent.
Then a bit of chat about the Oath Rod and binding rods in general, and how they were used in the Age of Legends to punish channelers and non-channelers? Question mark. Firstly, they worked for only channelers. So in the Age of Legends, when a channeler broke the law, they used a binding rod to make them swear an oath. And it's any oath. Well, it's not just the 3 oaths, right? It's not only the 3 oaths that work. It's any oath you swear on that rod will be held over you, I guess, magically. And to the extent where if you swear 2 oaths that contradict each other, you stop breathing until someone uses the oath rod to remove those oaths. Like, conflicting oaths will kill you.
Wow.
Non-channelers were put on something called a binding chair, which we don't ever see, but it is a ter'angreal that does the exact same thing, but for non-channelers. So you can hold non-channelers to their word.
But before you continue, I'm going to take advantage of this gap. That is the theory, one of the theories about the throne of the Seanchan. Is being a ter'angreal. And that
I remember that was in something.
I think it's confirmed, Joe, that it is a ter'angreal. We've spoken about it on this podcast. We referenced your forum post from back in the day.
From 20 years ago, yeah. So I think the binding chair would have been similar to that, if not the exact same thing.
Okay, then, Villy, you said in the last episode that race isn't a thing in Wheel of Time. Do you remember saying that?
Formula 1 races? Yes.
Formula 1 race. We spoke about the races. Yes, I do recall that. And yes,
maybe Villy was saying racial discord or something. I don't know. What were you trying to say, Villy?
Because there are people with racial traits, right? Like I noticed in this chapter when they're talking about Selami or someone, the Terrans are dark skinned. We know that Semirog, at the very least, is like very, very dark skinned. I think Tuon is also very dark skinned. But I also remember us talking about how maybe this was us just theorizing, like after the breaking and people moved around and stuff, that a lot of the races were blended. You know, like it's very seldom that you would get someone without some kind of traditional, in our time. What are we? The second age, the first age.
Who knows?
Who knows? The one before the Age of Legends.
First age.
Yeah.
Our races have mixed and moved around, and obviously with the continents and everything, probably have less of a defined sort of boundary as what ours do currently. You also mentioned something about Berelain and Fail that I hadn't considered before, that they challenged each other over Perrin's affections. I think you sort of said it offhand, and I just caught it on the listen, and I just wanted to focus in on it because for a very long time, I'd always thought that Berelain's actions towards Perrin and Fail were just really shitty, especially since Perrin has made his intentions absolutely clear. So, like, what the fuck does she actually think she's going to do? But if it's like a personal challenge, like
this up, yeah.
when they were maybe during their altercation that Ruach broke up or something like that, or maybe even in this time with Colavia.
The challenge happened when they were together in Camelin, Kyrian. I can't remember at first when they got together, and Fail when they Perrin came back from the two rivers. No, after Tyr. So Fail and Perrin went from Tyr to Two Rivers, did their thing, came back to Rand because Perrin had his calling back.
In Camelin, yeah.
And so be it, Camelin, Berelain was there.
No, she was in
At
Kyrian,
that
so they went through the
stage-
gateway from Camelin to Kyrian and then met up with Berelain there.
Either which way, whatever beach road they went to Rome, they eventually ended up in Rome. And that is where that physical, and I said it's almost that it was half on page because there was a chapter, I can't remember exactly, where Fail and Berelain has words that aren't words to each other, that has different sort of almost meanings. That's why I felt I gotta rewind now, because I feel like we brought it up in a podcast and I said that it's like Fail said to her, like, try take him off me. I challenge you to, it's never going to happen.
I challenge you to find the spot where that happened.
No.
But I do recall something similar to that. Yeah. Cool. Then Jelani, the maiden that brought Rand the wine and just said Kara Khan, she's only 16. She's the one that was interested in that other red shield with whom she was guarding the door when Rand, I think he was visiting Herod Fell or someone, and they were standing outside and she sort of looked like she was interested in the dude. So I went and I read that scene again. She walks over to get the punch for Rand, strutting. She brings the wine over with a smile on her face and is about to make a joke when her face changes and she merely says Kara Khan. So maybe, Jody, you were right. You sort of posited that maybe it was just Rand's expression, like his grim expression on his face that sort of made her go, oh, fuck, this is not a time to joke. And then she sort of just said Kara Khan, gave it to him and sort of awkwardly went back to the maidens. And that's when the rest of the maidens laughed at her.
Because there was a line afterwards, like his hard eyes or something, like it was written down after that. Because he looked at her with this no fuck around look on his face.
his resting don't fuck around face.
Exactly.
Then a point of clarification. I went and I checked. Arena does not flirt with Egwene. Egwene just takes note that she is a flirt in general. Egwene is there when Rand gets the letters from Elida and Alviarin and reads them along with the other women. So, yes, she was there.
Okay.
But she says to Leanne in that last chapter, he says he has a letter from her. I went and I found the line.
Yeah.
So she's talking about it as if she wasn't there.
Maybe she's playing her cards close to her chest. She doesn't want to...
Maybe. I still think everything around all the letters there in Kyrian, all the letters that were handed over, who was and wasn't there, it seems like a big fucking sieve in Robert Jordan's mind. Like, there's too much weirdness around them with the seals changing and Matt not remembering and Egwene not remembering, and yeah, it's weird. Okay, then a couple of listener contributions. The delivery man, Richard Jackson, returns and says, while listening to the Fires of Heaven as background noise in chapter 51, it stated that Rand received a letter that Berelain was a few hundred miles from the city with a small army. It's written in such a way that Rand seems surprised, since it's the same chapter that we learn about Morgase's death. Matt kills Melindra and a bunch of other stuff, and everyone missed it. So, just an old little tidbit that Richard picked up on because we had been talking about it while he was re-listening to the book. So, thanks, Richard.
Thank God
And
people
then the
listen
rest
to
of-
this and help us out, eh? Jesus.
No, God bless him. And then Jacob had a bunch of other contributions other than the Zen Rand part. He says, you guys talked about the title of Amelin's seat being the Watcher of the Seals. It never really comes up or is important until the last battle when Egwene gets upset that Rand has the seals and is planning on breaking them since she is the Watcher and she gets whiny about it.
It's going back to those Two Rivers relationships she had with him. Yeah, she can't let it go.
Just like everyone else, falling into old patterns when you know how like whenever you hang out with your parents again, you just become your same old version of yourself and your interactions go very much the same way they did when you were 17. Jacob also says, I thought that Taim wanted the Aes Sedai because he wanted to bond them and try and force them to his will or just turn them. I don't know when he truly turns to the dark, but it certainly seems like he's well on his way right now. I would agree. Taim is, he starts off as like a dubious character and is now like downright bad.
Yeah, he's dodgy as fuck.
And then, just to make things worse, Jacob comes with more questions.
Aw.
Why do dogs hate Aes Sedai? It's mentioned before this, but it stuck out with a contrast between the army camp and the Aes Sedai camp. In the, when they're traveling, they talk about like cats being in the one and not in the other one, and vice versa. And I went and I did some reading about it, and it seems like it's mentioned all the time. And no one can really put their finger on it, but it seems to just kind of follow the sort of gender stereotypes. Dogs are for men, cats are for women, and nary the twain shall meet. Like they just... They just hate each other, and that's just to be accepted.
It's man's best friend. Is that the reason behind this?
Maybe.
Well, you can actually think about it, and if you really think about it deep, dogs are descendants of wolves that have slowly changed as they lived with man. Wolves may not like Aes Sedai because of the wolf brother.
They don't.
Now I'm reaching its strokes there.
It's
They
mentioned
don't.
in the books that
So-
wolves don't like Aes Sedai because they find it unnatural that they control the wind and fire and stuff. So yes, it's in some of the passages I read about the dogs and cats, the wolves are mentioned, like them too. They also hate the Aes Sedai or don't like them, avoid them.
Dogs are wolves, so that could just be a built-in reaction that's left over in them from their wolfishness to bark
Maybe.
and like
I was thinking maybe the dogs just don't... They fear Aes Sedai. Not that they don't like them. They're afraid of them. And cats are also afraid, but cats don't give a fuck about anything, so they're like, whatever. They just... cats.
Yeah, we do.
Do not upset half the world and half our listeners, Base Jody. Do not say a bad thing about cats. Take that all back right now.
I refuse.
Cats can be mean bastards, but I love them.
Oh, yeah.
Never owned a cat, but I love cats. Then Jacob's last question: how does Egwene know that it was a man that freed Moghedien?
Because the Adam, when a man who touches the necklace...
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly. If a male channeler touches an Adam, it sends a shockwave of pain through all of them. And Rand actually experiences this in Seanchan when he followed Avienda there. And the next morning they try and go back and they sort of trap those Seanchan soldiers and Damane and Suldam.
yeah.
Rand tries to take the collar off that Damani and it jolts both of them. So Avienda has actually seen it happen in person.
Yeah, we haven't seen Avienda in a while, eh? Now that you mention it.
No,
Soon.
coming.
She's
She hasn't
coming
been with
soon.
the girls. She's been low-key.
Yeah.
Then Fed Up X-Fed wrote in again, and this time via the website, and now I know that her first name is Marlene.
Hey!
So welcome, Marlene.
There you go.
She says that you guys nailed Natrin's Barrow. Rand was after Grendel. I'm editorializing her response here. Crazy shit goes down there, but I'm not going to elaborate on some of the stuff that she's saying there. I know it sounds dumb to not do spoilers, but there's some cool shit that happens there. She says Villy nails Fael's reaction to the arrival of the Dumas Wells group. So when everyone gets back there, and why Fael is sort of like a bit standoffish to them. And she also says, oh man, the colors, the Taverian have a link which they never use effectively. Her take on Jelani is, I think she was somewhat overcome with emotion. They almost lost Rand. She's feeling the love, relief, happiness of having him back. Maybe all of that. All of the above. And the size of the tower that I sort of speculated about, the number of Aes Sedai, Marlene draws our attention to the fact that it might not necessarily be only the high-ranking Aes Sedai that are trying to sort of squeeze the numbers, but the Black Arger actively affected recruiting.
Yeah.
They actively wanted to throttle the flow of Aes Sedai into the tower because, the Black Archer does not want a powerful white tower during Tarmon Gaidon. So, thank you,
Division.
Marlene.
Divide and conquer, all from the inside. Literally.
How did we not think of that?
Half the ants don't pull the same
I
way.
know.
It takes time. You got to read the whole story and you got to talk about it. And we clearly slow-witted and bullheads.
We also just love a bit of navel gazing.
Exactly. There we go.
Just blind to everything else. Okay, that's it for callbacks. So, previously on Blood and Ashes. After the events of Colavir's confession and sentencing, Perrin and Fail finally have it out. Perrin finally takes control of her, first physically and then with his words, and they make up. But before they can enjoy their makeup, Rand barges in and asks Perrin again to lead the army to Ilion. Perrin refuses and reminds Rand that the Aes Sedai he's handed to the Wise Ones are women, and he'll step in if Rand mistreats them. Rand travels to Camelin in disguise and meets with Bashir. He learns that Dylan has hanged nobles for suggesting she take the throne, and she's loyal to Elaine. Rand tells Bashir and Bael that the army will move on Ilion and that Aiel will get the fifth. We jump back in time to where Egwene is grilling Sheriam about sending ferrets to the White Tower. When she feels a sharp pain through the Odam link to Moghedien, she rushes over to her now empty tent. She figures it was a male Forsaken that freed her. And then Egwene and Siuan work on their relationship with the new power dynamic to some levels of success. And later, while walking alone in the night, Egwene is confronted by Nicola and Arena, who tried to blackmail her. They know Elaine, Nynaeve, and probably Egwene herself posed as Aes Sedai when they were only accepted. Egwene puts the fear of the Dark One in them and sends them back to bed, but this is a threat to her credibility as Amyrlin. And sticking with Egwene, this brings us to today's first chapter, chapter 10, called Unseen Eyes. Speaking of unseen, at least in a while, a chapter summary from me.
Hey! Much rejoicing.
So, my first note, get comfy. You know me and my bloviating.
Yes. You in your recap over there, it's important to note that Moghedien has escaped. Yes, but remember where she's going. She has been summoned to Shayol Ghul.
Summoned.
All right, so it's not like she's running off to do her Moghedien things. She's in the shit,
It's true.
So,
yeah, doesn't she get mind trapped soon? Pretty sure as soon as Moradin steps in the scene, she gets a mind trap.
I think that's probably who she's going to meet.
Probably.
Wild speculation. All right, Moritz. Get on with the notes.
We're already digressing, and I have not even said the first thing. Okay, so, still with Egwene. Egwene gets back to her tent and has to suffer the attentions of the downright annoying and unpleasant Salami?
Salami.
I mean, it's going to be hard not to call her Salami, isn't it?
She's salami, dude.
She is Salami. Salami is the maid supplied by Lelaine and is a terrible combination of haughty and nonsensical. This is the maid that's later killed by Halima so that Halima can take her place in Egwene's service, and I suspect Robert Jordan made her unlikable so that we don't dwell on her murder. I have a note here. George R.R. Martin would have killed Chessa.
Yeah, totally. Or Egwene.
Oh, yes.
Right now. Oh, you liked her. She's dead.
Yeah. So Egwene gets ready for bed, but before she retires, she peeks out the tent flaps and spots movement nearby, and it looks like a woman. Halima, surely. But then again, could be Salami, Mari, any number of sisters, Nicola, Arena, the list goes on. Egwene is beset by spies and people with ulterior motives. She enters a dream state easily, like the Wise Ones taught her, and emerges in the vast space between the dreams where she can float around and access other people's dreams. She considers scaring Nicola and Arena, but thinks better of it, as locating them would take too long. Would be handy, though. I mean, she could really put the fear of the Creator in them. But I also learnt a new word in this section, proscribed.
So did I. Every time I see a new word, I think of you. And like, well, thank God for the
Yes.
for the Kindles as well. Just touch and hold and like, what does this mean?
I have to go from old paperback to Google.
Ooh.
Just the old Google. And it means forbidden. She finds Nynaeve's dream and warns Nynaeve not to return until after she has sorted out the matter of Nicola and Arena. She thinks about how she could pull Nynaeve out of her dream into a section of Teleron Riad of her own making where she would be in complete control. Dream shard, right?
Yeah, but isn't it she,
Okay, so
she
this is the
remember...
part...
Okay, you continue.
well, this is the part that's forbidden. It's the proscribed part. It's forbidden by the wise ones because, as far as I can tell, it's something the Forsaken do and therefore must be evil, because they say previously that it's, the Shadow Soul do that. But maybe the Aiel also have honor issues with the ability to affect another person in that way without asking their permission. So maybe it's not just the bad guys do it, so we can't do it. Maybe it is also just like, yeah, it's kind of rude. Ripping someone out of a dream into a place that you control completely. Yes.
Where they also don't know that they're there. It's beyond. It's like
it's a betrayal of trust.
There's no honor in that. Yeah, there's no honor in that.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't expect the Aiel to be aboard.
No. So I'll give the wise ones a bit of slack on that one. Egwene also recalls looking in on one of Nynaeve's dreams that I assume featured Lan when Egwene peeked in by accident. Raw deal for Nynaeve and Elaine. They have to leave their dreams unwarded so that Egwene can reach them, but risk Egwene observing many of their raunchy dreams. Both of them are sort of in their prime and in love, so sorry for you. But Egwene turns her attention to Rand, and to get to him, she has to work via the Wise Ones. Rand shields his dreams completely, so Egwene has no access there. She finds Amice's dream and asks her to talk. Egwene has massive respect for Amice. The words used in the book are, so much lies between her and Amice that finding her dreams are akin to finding her mother's. So loads of respect there. That makes the upcoming section with the Wise Ones a bit more heartbreaking because they actively keep things from Egwene while Egwene trusts them implicitly. Yeah. We'll get to that. I've got a couple notes on that. But man, yeah, it's kind of sad. Amice responds with, we will come, which startles Egwene, who is not used to other people being so adept in the world of dreams. But of course Amice is. She shouldn't have been surprised. About then, she notices one of the lights moving towards her. So one of those dreams moving towards her rapidly. And that could only be Gawain's dream ready to suck her in. So she quickly exits that space between dreams and arrives at the heart of the stone in Tyr. She thinks about Gawain for a bit when... and then Marin Alvear trusted her daughter's judgment. Now it was time for her youngest daughter to show a little bit of that judgment and put these fancies away until a better time. Youngest daughter? Does Egwene have sisters?
Apparently.
Well, did we know this?
I never read it like that.
Never mentioned.
That never clicked.
Never thought about it, never picked it up, didn't even pick it up.
No. But there it is. Now it was time for her youngest daughter to show a little bit of that judgment and put these fancies away until a better time. Huh.
Maybe she had a child before and it passed away, or missed stillborn or something.
You wouldn't phrase it as her youngest daughter in that case. It'd be her only daughter. Anyway, if any of our listeners know anything about any of Egwene's siblings, let us know. Egwene asks herself the same question we have asked a couple of times. Why does everyone choose to meet in the heart of the stone? She thinks the wise ones surely would have chosen Rhuidean since it's now open to entry in Tel'aran'rhiod, but they always choose the heart of the stone and they prefer the very center of that massive hallway. With all those columns and shadows and stuff, it makes it the perfect place to be spied on. Plus, Lanfear has interacted with Egwene in this very room. It is a known meeting place. Even the Black Arger sisters with it. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
But while waiting for the wise one, she thinks about Moghedien and finds herself dressed in heavy plate mail as a result. She fixes that up right away and reassures herself that Loghain is on his way back to the Black Tower and Moghedien does not know where she is, except Moghedien knows exactly where Egwene is in real life, which is real dangerous. So when the wise ones arrive behind her and say, why should you fear the Shadow Soul? She literally climbs the air before she settles herself down again and turns to the amused wise ones, Amice, Bear, and Melaine. Egwene tells them she recently hurt Moghedien's ego, and Bear muses those wounds take much longer to heal than physical ones do. Somewhat lending credence to Egwene's fear of Moghedien, like she should be afraid of Moghedien because she did dent her ego, and Moghedien is, lest we forget, one of the Forsaken. But Melaine is actually eager to hear how Egwene shamed her. She's like, ooh, tell us, what did you do? How did you shame her? The wise ones sit in the middle of the chamber, tie their shawls around their waist and unlace their blouses. This is how wise ones meet with friends. But Egwene chooses to remain standing for the time being. She tells them that she's been raised as the Amelin and that she is seen as a figurehead to be manipulated. Melaine draws a comparison to a game that Aiel children play with a dummy clan chief and conjures an image depicting the game. And Egwene admits the majority of the Aes Sedai see her as that token leader. But by the time the battle is done, they will know that she is in charge. Fighting words from our girl. I like it. Bear tells her to just come back to them. Soralia has picked out a number of potential candidates for her to marry. But she tells them she has made her choice in husband and hopes they will all be there when she eventually marries Gawain. Bear pivots to the Aes Sedai and asks if Egwene will bring them to Rand to swear fealty. And Egwene says absolutely not. She is shocked because Egwene doesn't know about what happened at Do Mice Wells. She says that would be the equivalent of the wise ones swearing fealty to a clan chief, and she conjures an image of 3 wise ones kneeling before a man resembling Ruach. And Myrelle immediately arcs up and says, do not compare us to those women. Even Myrelle, who Egwene has noted has sort of softened since becoming pregnant, the old fire in her eyes, because she's always been the sort of real fiery wise one, is back, and she's like, do not compare us to those women. Egwene picks up on the feeling the wise ones have toward the Aes Sedai, except for herself, and notes on the distance that has opened up between her and the wise ones to the extent that she can't talk to them about many things. She also notes how Bear and Myrelle are deferring to Amis, much more than before. The only other wise one to command such deference was Soralia, so we can see the effects of that talk between Amis and Soralia on the way to Do Mice Wells playing out in the wider wise one community now. Like it's becoming, or has become, official. However official that really is between the wise ones is probably not spoken about outright. They'll probably deny it being the case, but it is happening. She can tell that the wise ones are in a serious mood, so she turns the conversation to Rand and her concerns about him. She tells them she's worried he has set a foot wrong with the Saladar embassy and specifically Marana, based on her obviously bogus letter from a previous chapter, which we said that she had picked apart. The wise ones exchange long looks, and Amis says that Marana and her fellow Aes Sedai followed Rand to the Tree Killer's city. Because Egwene's saying, I don't know where Marana is. She's like, no, don't worry. They followed Rand to the Tree Killer city. Then Amis says, you need have no fear. He will put his foot wrong with her or any of your sisters with her. We will see there is no difficulty between him and any Aes Sedai. And I just thought, bravo, Amis. How very Aes Sedai of you. All of that is true without giving away anything about what has transpired there.
Don't compare us to those women. Yeah, whatever, bro.
And then they are exactly like them. Yeah. I laughed at Egwene. She's like, that hardly sounds like Rand. Like, no. They're there and he hasn't caused shit? That doesn't sound like Rand. But Bear laughs and she says most parents have more issues with their children than what Rand has with Marana and company. She's almost giving their game away here, but Egwene is oblivious. And of course she is. I can't wait to see how she reacts when she finds out about the Aes Sedai swearing fealty to Rand. It'll be ironic after the oaths we'll hear about in this episode. Like, I bet Egwene is going to be incredibly indignant and completely put out by hearing about this. So I can't wait to read about her hearing about it. And then in these chapters, she's also accepting oaths from people left, right, and center. In some cases, coercing them. When Egwene says Marana should have sent a message of some kind, Amis kind of brushes it aside, joking about Miranda sending a man on a horse, and then says she didn't bring any pigeons, which we also think obviously doesn't mean anything. She could have brought as many pigeons as she wanted.
The army would have eaten them.
We've got opinions of the pigeons. Let's move on.
So Egwene makes Amis promise not to stop Marana from trying to talk to Rand, and also not to tell him that she is Amyrlin, as he might try to rescue her. After some long looks between the wise ones, Amis promises. I've got my own personal notes here just saying I'll be interested to see how that promise plays out, to see whether Amis herself tries to get around the promise and protect Rand from speaking with Marana at all, because I bet you the wise ones are going to try and keep, I'm assuming here, the wise ones are going to try and keep the Aes Sedai and Rand separate. They're going to try and keep them apart.
Oh, yeah.
So when Amis here promises that she will not prevent Marana from speaking to Rand, I'm going to hold her to that promise. I'm going to be looking out with an eagle eye now. If there's ever a request from Marana to have an audience with Rand or to speak to him or consult with him at all, she has promised that she wouldn't do it.
Watch out, Amis. Mars has got your number. You're on his radar. Radar?
Radar. Amis's voice is flat as stone when she's making this promise, and Egwene assumes it's because she's offended that she has had to promise. But I think it's more to do with how tricky the situation is back in Cairn and how the wise ones intend to manage it. Egwene then says, "Thank you. I knew I'd have the unvarnished truth from you, Amis."
Yeah, this whole section I was just like, oh, no.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts. After previously making like a comparison to Amis being like a mother figure to her, and like Egwene laying it all bare here, you know, she's being honest with them, talking about how fragile her position as the Amyrlin seat is and all that sort of stuff. She's looking to them as friends, she's holding their hands when they say goodbye, talking about, I hope you'll be there at my wedding. Like it is really, really personal. And then She says this after Amis has been straight up Aes Sedaiing her. So when Egwene says that, Amis is startled to the point of briefly shifting into Caden's saw and actually flashing some maiden hand talk. So when Amis slips like that, I mean, the proest dreamwalker we know about, when she slips like that, you know that she's been affected personally. So that comment from Egwene hit home, which is even worse because now you know that she is aware of the fact that she's not being, she's not giving her the unvarnished truth.
Well, yeah, of course she's aware of it. Sorry, Leah wouldn't slip like that.
No, no, she wouldn't. But Bear and Mylene and everyone pretends that they didn't see anything from Amis. So Egwene asks for one last favor, for them not to lie, but not to bring up that she's the Amelin in front of Rand, or anyone. She's worried that he might try to rescue her again, since he's already sent Matt with those exact instructions, right? Like, he thinks he's rescuing Egwene. They agreed to hold her confidence, and Egwene is surprised at their quick agreement. I thought, are they agreeing quickly out of, like, guilt for all this other stuff, all this, like, stuff we were talking about?
They just want this conversation to end. We need to go.
Cool, we promise. Just don't make us lie to you and don't make us dance around the shit. It's not very honorable. They drink some tea and hang out for a while, Egwene wishing for some more dream tutelage, but not daring to ask Amis here and now. Mylene gets death stares from Amis and Bear when she suggests that Rand should now smash the Shido and Savannah. Obviously after the events of Dumai's Wells that Mylene is referring to, but Egwene is not privy to. So Egwene thinks the looks are because Mylene suggested Rand do something about Savannah, who she knows is a wise one. So Egwene is saying here, it's accepted, Savannah is a wise one. So is everyone, because remember we had this like, I can't believe Savannah is she's acting as a clan chief, not as a wise one, but she's dressing like a wise one. So this sort of shift from de facto clan chief to wise one seems to have happened and seems to be maybe official now, since she's kind of ordering around the Rava and the other Shido wise ones. Anyway, makes me sick. Egwene tells them that she must go, and she leaves with a warning about Moghedien and Lanfear. The wise ones say that none of the Forsaken Dreamwalkers ever come near them, and that they continue to avoid the wise one Dreamwalkers whenever they're in Tel'aran'rhiod, which is reassuring to us as readers. And they all hold hands and proclaim their forever friendship and say goodbye before the wise ones disappear. Egwene lingers for a bit, considering going back to Gawain's dream, but instead returns to her body so she can dream, with a capital D, but keeps one part of her mind alert for cataloguing all her dreams.
I think that's so cool.
Yes.
It's like, there's going to be some shit I'm going to dream now, and it's going to be important. Other stuff is going to be rubbish. And then, like, I'll make a list with one part of my brain. Like, what? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
She's already a pro here. Eh?
Yeah.
First, she dreams of Gawain with two choices, marriage to her or not. Those are lying ahead of him. One path held a long life, the other death. We know which one he follows.
Spoilers.
Marriage and death.
Yeah. All marriages end in death, and the others in divorce, I imagine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She dreams about Matt and there's a couple things about Gawain and him sort of like standing in her way at a crossroads and him walking across glass and like everything he's doing is painful and blah. I mean, it's an apt analogy for many of the readers' experience when reading about Gawain. It's like walking across broken glass.
Yeah.
But we know what's going to happen there. She dreams of Matt and the Illuminators and then him sort of like grabbing fire from the sky or something. It's all allusions to the cannons, obviously, that he's going to help Eludra develop. Then a picture of her standing before an immense wall, clawing at it, trying to tear it down with her bare hands. Something about the tower, some of those... let me read the whole thing. It was not made of brick or stone, but countless thousands of discs, each half white and half black, the ancient symbol of the Aes Sedai, like the 7 seals that had once held the Dark One's prison shut. Some of those seals were broken now, though not even the one power could break Quaindiar, and the rest had weakened somehow, but the wall stood strong however she beat at it. She could not tear it down. Maybe it was the symbol that was important. Maybe it was the Aes Sedai she was trying to tear down, the White Tower. Couldn't find any kind of clear explanation about what that is. All of those themes are kind of known and sort of play into various aspects of her story and the story as a whole.
Dream telling her that the seals need to be broken. She's the keeper of the seals now.
She's trying to break them, but she can't.
Because it's not her job.
It's not.
It's not her job.
And we'll get to that dream actually in just a minute. But then she dreams about the headsman's axe, like she's bound and the headsman's axe is falling toward her and a would-be rescuer is running towards her, and if they can make it in time, the axe will stop. This is the blood knives Blood Knives coming up a lot all of a sudden now that we've talked about them, because after the Seanchan attack, Blood Knives stay behind in the tower. They're not found because they can hide in shadows and stuff. And there are Blood Knives coming to kill Egwene, and Gawain knows about them, and he's rushing to the tower, and he actually gets there in time. He gets into her room when there are 3 Blood Knives in her room. 3 or 4. Like one of them is supposed to be deadly, and then there's 3. And the way that Gawain beats them is he makes the room completely dark. I don't know if he smashes the lamp or something, or so then they're all on equal footing, and he fights 3 or 4, however many of them there are, and he actually kills them, and he saves Egwene's life that way.
Do not remember that at all.
Not a clue. I don't even know what a blood knife
Really?
is.
Not even a blink of it.
Okay, well, I won't go on about it too much just to leave some mystery there, but it is fucking rad.
Yeah, thanks for the spoilers.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. May I suggest a first reader podcast for you, maybe? So here we go. Egwene then dreams of Loghain stepping over what looks like Rand's body, only for it to fall apart when she tries to touch it. There's also, I think, mention of seals or something around there. Then a golden hawk stretched out its wing and touched her, and she and the hawk were tied together somehow. All she knew was that the hawk was female. A man lay dying on a narrow bed, and it was important he not die, yet outside a funeral pyre was being built, and voices raised songs of joy and sadness. A dark young man held an object in his hand that shone so brightly she could not see what it was. A couple of different things. I'm not going to focus too much on the dead person and the funeral pyre, but the dark young man with something bright in his hand could be Narishma, who is fair-skinned but of dark hair, dark eyebrows, and that sort of thing. Could be holding Kalandor. Some people think it could be Rand holding the Kudenkal on top of Dragonmount that we just spoke about a couple of minutes ago. But I wouldn't describe Rand as a dark young man. But then again, Lews Therin was dark-skinned. So
It is true.
Could be Lews Therin sitting on Dragonmount holding the Kudenkal. Anyway, a lot of cool and trippy dreams. And that is the end of that chapter.
Well done. Welcome back. Good job.
Oh, thank you.
It's,
Felt good.
I have nothing to add. It's good review. Answered all the questions. Jody, what do you have?
Nothing.
What do you
No,
got
I
for us?
interjected when I wanted to interject. Just my feelings about the wise ones lying to her. So blatantly.
It was hard to read, actually. It was tough.
I didn't think that Egwene mentioned right in the beginning. I didn't read it like saying when she told them, "Oh, I'm Amyrlin, and they're using me." I didn't read it like that. Like just like her saying, "I'm Amyrlin," and her expecting. I thought that she might be expecting them to go, "Oh, wow, of course you deserve it," But they just look at her like, and because they immediately know that she must be being manipulated, and she's like, "Yes, I am being manipulated." Later on, but anyway,
Interesting.
From my perspective, it was like she was trying to drop a bomb, like, "Yo, I'm Amyrlin," and they're like, "Whatever."
Yeah, I took it like she told them outright, like, "I'm a puppet, Amyrlin."
I didn't.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
they
didn't
think,
read it like
but I'm
that.
going to show them that.
It could very much. The sentence could be, "I'm the Amyrlin puppet," and I would have read it differently.
The sisters who have opposed Elida have raised me as their Amyrlin. When Elida is pulled down, I will sit on the Amyrlin seat in the White Tower. She added the striped stole to her clothes and waited. Once she had lied to them, blah, 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 blah. And then immediately Mylene goes, "This is a thing children do," Mylene said carefully after time. Her pregnancy. So yeah, Egwene does not actually say it outright.
Like we know that she knows.
Yes. And after Mylene says that thing, she says, "Yes, it's true. Some of them do see me so."
But I'm wondering if she was just trying to because she thinks of them as parents, as mothers, She's like, "Hey, I got a raise, I got promoted," and she's proud of
Yeah.
that.
Are you proud of me?
You proud of me? And they're like, "Yeah, we have kids that play this game." Like I wouldn't not impressed at all.
Look, I mean, the wise ones are not they're not dull ones. They are wise. And they can see when what is Egwene? What did we say she is? 17, 18 years old?
Yeah.
When they put her at the head of an order of magic women that are hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
suppose.
probably
So the
something going
wise
on
ones
there.
are like, so what? You're queen of the assholes now. Okay, great. There's no.
I don't like that one.
All right. Well, then, let's move along then to chapter 11 called An Oath. Villy, insert segue here.
Oh. Yeah, well, with me? Oh, I have an oath to fulfill in some way or form. An oath to deliver this chapter to you rapidly and with as little detail as possible.
I spent a full 5 minutes trying to think of a segue with the word oath, and no, it wasn't coming. So I'm not going to force it. So I'm going to let myself off the hook now. I'm not going to be able to do a segue for every single chapter. I'm going to have to let some of them slide, and I'll only do the quote unquote good ones.
Okay,
Tisk,
well,
Moritz.
just do the good pickings and leave the rest for us. to
I'll only
on
do
the
things
spot.
if they're
That's-
easy.
I'll be prepared. It almost sounds like something the white cloaks would say. It's
Or Matt.
it's very
Yeah.
white cloakish or Matt. Okay, yes, true.
Right,
Okay,
Phil, take it away.
Egwene, we are just carrying on from her basically waking up from her dreams, literally seconds after the last chapter. She's
Mhm.
been woken, as she had asked, before sunrise by Mari, and that's the other maid that she has. So between Chessa and Mari, she really likes Chessa more. Mari is not favored maid. Any which way, she's getting dressed and readied, and she's feeling a little bit shamed about the way she wakes up, like looking like drool across her face, probably guilt in her eyes from the dream she had about Gowan and all the rest. But anyway, hair's being pressed out. Sorry, it's gonna hurt. All the rest. Now she leaves the camp. She's been chosen a nice blue dress for the day. She doesn't even get to make choices now about what she wears. It gets decided by the maids what will make her appear powerful, which is quite interesting. Sun is about halfway over the horizon. Um, Smells of cook fires. We are reminded that this is still army on the move. Bacon breakfast. It's a rest day, quite importantly. Armies too need rest days from the move. So wagon wheels are being repaired, hunters are out, gatherers are out. They are gathering from local farmers and villages as much as you can say gathering is. It's really at force. They taking and giving money, but it's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, that money's going to feed
Can't
you for
eat
the
the
winter.
money.
Give us your chickens. You
The
can't
farmer would
eat
rather
the
have the
monies.
food.
Kids are crying, chicken for Christmas. To call the chickens. But yes, that is also happening around. We got to be reminded about what it takes to move an army. It's not easy. It's not easy on the people. I think we all have had a little introduction to what happens to a small area if a lot of people flood into it, say for like a holiday in the summer, and then you're swamped and resources are sparse and just getting from A to B takes long. And now imagine an army pulling into like a little farming community along a road. It's
No.
like shit's
like-
fucked, yo.
It's like
It's not
trying to
good.
buy ice for New Year's Eve in Jeffreys Bay.
Never, ever. What's
No, you
that?
got to buy your ice in October. Keep it frozen.
Or you just buy your fridge in October and start making ice and have your own stash. Like I know people who are stashed up like that. They're religious ice makers. I digress. What was also being made is not ice, but hot water over cauldrons so that people can actually bath. Like it is described in full how people are now washing clothes. It is rest day. It is also cleaning day. It is like a lot of stuff gets done on rest day, other than moving in an army.
Interjection. I'd never considered that before, that they would have to heat up all of these cauldrons over fires of water. And the army is like 15,000 or 20,000 people, plus the Aes Sedai. That's a lot of cauldrons.
Cauldrons, right? That's a... Now Egwene, that is, had now finally reached her tent for sort of the day's business. She had had a terrible breakfast before as she had left her tent, which sounded really terrible. as she moves in and expects Sheriam to be there, she's actually met by Faolain and Theodrin, who then continue sort of the instruction that was given to them to see or reporting back around anyone that has been suspicious. And Halima is named by name. So, I mean, we have a big arrow pointing at Halima right over here, but the attention around that is sort of diverted by the problem that they had with Diana, who treated them like they still novices or accepted. And sort of kind of for me took the information about Halima and also sort of the little quick summary about her opinion, that sort of Halima, that that one, there's already an opinion of her forming in the group. So um, I'm I might say a little bit disappointed in Egwene, not at this time snapping up onto Halima. I mean, we've now had experience after experience after experience of Forsaken being so close to the people all the time, and her seeing this firsthand, and experiencing the pain and the healing that came with being beaten to pieces by Lanfear. So it's
But
just
I
weird
mean, Egwene
for
is not
me.
drawing any kind of link between Halima and the Forsaken. In fact, we find out in these chapters she thinks of Halima
Okay,
as a
yeah,
friend. So
because of
Faolain,
the
who
headaches.
she hates, and who hates her quite openly, as she states here, is telling her
Oh,
that this person that she likes as a friend is acting suspicious. And she's going, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. Whatever, Faolain.
anyway,
It's the worst.
Faolain and Theodrin, as they were now supposed to be, and Egwene dismisses them, then Faolain speaks up and says she wishes that she can swear on the oath rod. And she's like, well, Egwene has a little spin up in her own, like, around what really the oath rod doesn't mean much, and also tells them, like, hey man, you want to tell me something for me to believe it's true? But Faolain goes off and tells us straight up, okay, cool, like, I don't like you. Like, she's just dead honest
Mm,
about her personal feelings towards Egwene, and that is very honest of her.
mm-hmm,
And she reiterates, this being Faolain, that she is telling her this because she needs to tell her something that needs to be ring true. And this ties back to wanting to be in the Earth Rod so she can't lie. But she wants to tell her that she's on her side,
mm,
Egwene's side. Because now Romanda and Lelaine has been trying to rally, literally support an
mm-hmm.
army. And
Yeah.
two new sisters means two new people that needs to be recruited.
Mm-hmm,
And they were approached by both, and both of them made the decision to say, like, whoa, we can see the bigger picture out of this. We're going to go the other route. And these are the two first Aes Sedai that then swears a fealty
mm-hmm,
to Egwene.
mm-hmm,
Through all of this, and this is Team Egwene plus two. The party has got two new members
mm-hmm.
has joined the party, which is great for me. But now starts the deep diving. This is where I feel Egwene starts introducing her Aiel and her understanding of Chiato into the Aes Sedai. And if you let that sort of fizzle in the back of your, because the further we go into this, you're going to see examples the whole time of this.
Mm-hmm.
And you, all of a sudden, it's going to like, oh, wow, okay, cool. This is kind of like they the same. It's one in the same, which touched earlier on what Amis did.
As we've established, she is
Mm-hmm.
Aiel, right? We can assume Egwene is Aiel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But as well, we always had Rand heralds change, but it is speaking true through everything. Like, his change that he's bringing to the world is not just in the way that they lived. It's happening. It's heralding change in the Aes Sedai structure and everything else.
Mm,
So we're seeing it like now really happening in this breakaway tower with a breakaway or a rebel tower with a rebel Aes Sedai with rebel Amarylline seat. Now also doing rebel things within Aes Sedai of
mm-hmm.
swearing fealty.
Oh, yeah.
That's a kind of like, shouldn't that just be? It's a lot of um,
The Lord of Chaos.
hmm, Yeah, a
Not
lot
the
of
Lord of
chaos.
mild
Good
disruption.
chaos.
Lord of just putting you out a tag.
Now, okay, I made my note about stop to discuss, and we've stopped and discussed this. We get back to Faolain.
Mm.
She now brings up her penance, which makes Egwene actually have to bite back a laugh because she's like a legit sister she wants, and Egwene says like, no, no penance. And I said this is such a good tie to Giator
Mm-hmm.
in Faolain, like honor and obligation. She wants to have her honor back for being honest and saying to a person of superiority her de- degrading negative thoughts over her or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. It's
I have
just
the
an
same
honest
note, Phil.
reflection.
I've also
But
written the exact same thing down. It's great.
yeah, hey, I'm getting to a level now. Ooh, my XP's gone up.
You're on a roll.
And the Egwene uses the words like, you can dislike me to your heart's content, but that doesn't change. Like, it's great. I
It
mean,
is
it's
great.
like the people working together have to be. It's kind of like, yeah, people aren't going to get along. Can't expect people to get along. It doesn't work like that. But
Yeah,
anyway, Trey, I just love that bit there.
same.
And then Egwene sets a task for the two of them. So we've got fealties, we've got a task. We don't know what the task quite is there yet, but it's breakfast time now, sorry, and it's shit food. It's lousy tea. It is shitty oats with shitty fruit, and the spices is shitty and stale. I know how that feels. I've been a student. I've had shitty tea. And all right, Swan arrives. It's news time. Everyone settles down, but Swan walks in already looking like a cat wagging her tail. Swan is now in naive, angry phase. She's adopted that drama into her life. Now, we learn that Swan is not allowed the Terangriel anymore because she's a bad teacher. She can't teach the other Aes Sedai how to use it. So therefore, now she's been marked as, okay, stuff it. You don't get the toy anymore. You can't share. You can't teach. So you don't get it.
It's not just that she's not a bad teacher, it's that she forgets her quote unquote her place when interacting with the other Aes Sedai and Teleron. Like she's swearing at them and getting frustrated. So I guess, I mean, yes, that is a bad teacher, but it's not because she's incapable or incompetent. It's because she can't keep her temper in check and she just loses her shit at the Aes Sedai that are supposed to be higher rank than her.
Yeah, well, she's a bad teacher.
It's
She
exactly
doesn't
what
get
we
the
expect
message
from her.
across because she gets angry. Now, it's interesting because this draws attention. And as you say, she's stepping out of her place. But now we're starting to realize at her level in the power is such a, like, she can accept that she's not an Amlin seat anymore, but she was always a high standing Aes Sedai.
Mm-hmm.
And she struggles to accept that she's so far below in the power now that she has to defer to weak people. And I mean, weak in the power and probably in her opinion weak in the mind people, that she has to defer to this. There's a lot of that struggle that we're also going to be seeing on this. Now, what she is also very upset about is that Adeline Stonebridge, who's now the new Master of Whispers for the Blue Archer, has been harassing Swan for her eyes and ears. And Swan doesn't want to hand him over. So there's been a lot of, because Swan would have been able to tell her to back off if she had been bigger in the power or stronger in the power. Now she's not. So it brings to light all of this new challenges that she has.
There are two things happening there. Swan, because she used to be the head of the Eyes and Ears network for the Blue Archer, has contacts in that network. And Aeldine is managing that network for the Blue Archer now. And Swan is circumventing her. Some of the Blue Archer Eyes and Ears are reporting to Swan, and Aeldine is rightfully pissed off about it. Like Swan was stepping out of line. Then Swan also has access to what was her Amerlin Eyes and Ears from when she was Amerlin seat. And Aeldine is now arguing that Swan should hand over those to her as well. So there's two networks that they're arguing over.
Okay, all right. So I
Yeah.
just picked that up as the blue network. Okay, so it's the two networks.
But didn't we discuss this argument in like an episode,
No,
20
it wasn't
episodes?
Aeldine. It was was it Carlinia? It was another Aes Sedai that was managing them in the meantime until Aeldine came here and arrived.
I think we mentioned about the shouting match in public between the two of them.
Yes.
Go back.
The Amelin eyes and ears, the Hall wants to take those off Swan. The Blues want to take them off Swan. And nobody is talking about Egwene getting them. And she's the Amelin. And Egwene thinks about this. She notices.
Swan is being told by Egwene now as well that the Aes Sedai way is not always the right way either, which again sort of brings in that sort of theme of heralding a change coming through, that even the accepted culture, and the same story being in the Eel, the accepted cultural norms is changing, which leaves a lot of grey, I suppose, for decisions to be made now. It's kind of like decision purge time or culture purge. What didn't I like? Oh, well, Ta'Veren is about. Let's change it. I don't know. Egwene reflects on that the woman and that being Swan actually just needs a shaking. Like, actually, some days she thinks she's too sucked into her own thing. Now, as she thinks that, she sees on the other side of the tent, Myrelle had arrived. And that sets her off. Like, that discussion can wait. And she stops Myrelle, and Myrella's like, let me just first. And she's like, no, there's no not first, nothing. You stop now, talk here, come. But at the same time, Gareth Bryne rocks up. So every time he rocks up, Swan becomes meek and mild. But he then tells Egwene that he does have something that he needs to show her. But right before that, it is picked up that there's a glance exchange, brief exchange of looks between Swan and Lord Bryne. So it's being mentioned. Now, as this happened, Myrille tries to escape. But Egwene stops and says, no, whatever's going to happen, you're going to come with. Like, you're not getting away from me now. And sends Swan then to get 2 horses for them both to go along. Now they're going to go all as a party out with Gareth Bryne to whatever he needs to show.
At this point, they're standing outside the tent, right? Myrelle arrives on her horse with like a dust cloak or like a riding cloak or something.
Just rode into the camp, basically. Right. And she got flagged. And before she can even, I just traveled and arrived. Egwene doesn't even grant her that courtesy. She wants to get this out of her now.
Yeah.
Now, as all of this is now going on, Swan has now been sent off to get the horses. We've got Romanda and Lelaine and everyone rocking up there. The next minute, there's weaves being woven over weaves for eavesdropping and wards over wards over wards. And
a dome within a dome.
Dome within domes. And all that they're out. Now, I'm going to describe this as an innocent bystander shoveling hay, or I'm busy greasing a wagon wheel,
scrubbing a pot.
Look over my shoulder and I see because I can't hear, women shouting at each other. Aes Sedai woman, some on horses, some on not, some are looking down, but they're all looking very angry. And the ambulance seats in there. It's just all of a sudden, I just don't feel like greasing this wheel right now. I'm going to go and get under the wagon and crawl out the other end, but make sure that I don't look back. And that's what's happening right there, right now. Romanda wants, getting out of there. Like, this is no good. And for good reason, because Romanda now wants to... Egwene, by the way, learns all of this as just after the fact. Oh, just Amerlin's seat. By the way, this is what we want to do in the hall. We're going to announce Elida as a dark friend or as a black Asher.
Yeah.
Well, they're coming to Egwene. They don't want to do it. They're coming to Egwene saying that Delana is about to do it. They are upset. Neither Romanda or Lelaine want this to happen. They're warning Egwene that Delana is preparing to mention this in the hall. What they are coming to Egwene with their suggestions are ways for ferreting out the Black Archer.
And then that's different. They've got two varied opinions on how to do this,
They do.
on how to go about it. But they also are both on their own little power trip.
Oh, they oppose each other on
In
principle. Yes. Whatever the one says, the other one will go the opposite way. It's comical, actually. And kind of the way that they're behaving here, especially Romanda, who's supposed to be like
Silly.
really old. She was a sitter for a long time in the tower proper and then went and sort of like semi-retired and then came back. Like, they should know much better than to be this petty. But I guess amongst other Aes Sedai, they let the mask drop a little bit. We see that kind of behavior from Myrelle a bit soon as well, like where she's also behaving in a way that I thought Aes Sedai are beyond that, but maybe between each other, they kind of let it go a little bit.
I have a note on that in my chapter. I was thinking about it on my morning walk. Anyway, so we'll get there.
The big topics.
Yes.
Now, Romanda almost goes as far as accusing Lelaine of almost being a dark friend. Like, it almost gets to that point of the paths and opinions that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Halima is brought back into the topic again here. And apparently she's been spreading the gossip that Elida is black.
Yes.
So Halima is the instigator of all of this.
And the one influencing Delana to take it to the hall to make it a public proclamation that the rebel Aes Sedai are stating Elida is a dark friend.
Yeah, but Halima's saying
Now-
it was the previous Aes Sedai who fell off her horse that told her this.
Cabriana, yeah.
Cabriana, yeah.
Cabriana.
Cabriana Macandes.
She did not say
got-
anything of the sort.
They never met.
Didn't she kill her?
Shadar Haran?
No, Semirog did.
No, Shadar Haran.
Shaido Haran and
What?
Semirog
Oh, yes.
were torturing Cabriana and her warder. The warder with pleasure,
warders.
and when he dies, Cabriana breaks and Semirog tortures her. Then Semirog gives that information to Shaido Haran, who only a couple chapters later is there when Osangar and Arangar arrive for the first time in their new bodies, and he gives them instructions. And then Halima brings that rumor here. With the whole story of she was Cabriana's friend, Cabriana died when she fell off a horse, and then Cabriana's actual friends, who are Kyron Stang and another one of our friends, Anaya.
Anaya, yeah.
They don't believe it, and they look into Halima and her story and stuff, and I think they are actually also killed
Yes.
in the camp.
And look into Halima.
Doesn't she kill Van Dien or Adelaus? One of them.
One of the sisters is killed as
Yeah.
well. I can't remember where. But
It's in the camp, I think, as well. But anyway, much digression.
No, Van Dien and Atlas are in Ebou Dar.
So anyway, the Delana story is being pushed by Halima.
Yes.
The whole thing that Lelaine and Romanda are arguing about, about trying to warn Egwene, don't let her do this thing, we can't do this in the hall, is because Halima is pushing Delana into doing it.
No, anyway, I touched on how these two women are now growling at each other.
Literally.
In sort of...
Very nice.
And
There's much un-Aes Sedai-ness occurring.
Egwene actually now finally speaks up and sort of like cuts all of this off and says, like, you know what, I'm still here, but the horses are here and we are going now. So anyone who wants to come along on horseback, get on the horse and come, but I'm moving on. Gareth Bryne sitting there quietly the whole time, just waiting. Swan's got her hat on, made of straw. She's going to try and ride a horse. She's not good at it. No. Gareth then, as they walk through, obviously talking about all the army things that happen and all the things that army men do. And as he walks, every now and then there's a cry out of the bull, the bull. So there's a lot of loyalty to him by the men, and he has been growing in numbers, but Matt's army's also been growing in numbers. Now Swan is following in the rear, the back there. Egwene is riding Daishar. She's not overly happy with the horse, big war horse, and the what Gareth Bryne is bringing up is that they're obviously very close to the border of Andor, and Egwene then asks him straight up, like, "Have you had any thoughts about sacking the city, like or taking the city?" And he then says that his plan is to lay siege to the city. But and this is where Myrelle then pipes up, because now I do remember Myrelle is coming along on the horse as well. It's like Arthur Hawkwing and his armies tried to lay siege to it for 20 years. And Gareth Bryne just sits quietly and there's talk and all of that. But he just closes in like, you got to do it right. The first thing is we got to block supply. We got to close North and South Harbor, which isn't so north and which isn't so south.
Yes.
But we know what we're talking about there. That needs to be blocked. Like they cannot get boats in and out of those harbors for supplies. And if you drain their supplies within weeks, you're in. Like the city can only last that long, which is 100% correct.
He also says something here, sorry, Vil, about the size of Tar Valon, that it's bigger than Camelin and Kyrian put together. I never figured Tar Valon was that big. I thought it was just another big city like those two, but holy shit. That's pretty big.
Now, that island, I think we are very deceived in how big the island itself is and everything around it. Like the extensions of wherever there's a bridge going over the island.
Those bridge towns I don't think are
there's
considered Tar Valon. They're on the other side. They're independent.
Well, certainly not in the context of a siege.
No.
Like you're in those towns and around those bridges.
Yeah.
The city you're sieging is still bigger than Camelin and Kyrian put together.
They'll probably besiege the island.
Yeah.
Set bridges, control, take claim to the bridges, siege the bridges, and you got control of the city. The harbors that only weak planes, or the weak, or the benefit or the weak area, depending on which way you look at it. Now, this is where it reads and gets a little bit murky, because Egwene knows the truth that Myrelle is stating that Tar Valon the walls have never been breached, even after the 20-year siege. But the truth is, it has on multiple occasions. Dreadlords have breached it in the past. They just choose to erase the history, which is that lying? Oh, wait, it's just not telling the whole truth. Very Aes Sedai. They're Aes Sedaiing their own history as well.
Inadvertent, or maybe not inadvertently, but the effect of that is they're making out the Aes Sedai that don't know the truth, they're making them liars. Because Myrelle states the tower has never been breached, or Tar Valon's walls have never been breached. But that is factually incorrect.
That's weird how the Oath Rod doesn't actually stop you from telling a lie. It stops you from telling a lie that you know to be a lie.
It would be too easily abused if you couldn't say factual, because then if you had to find something out, you just make statements until you can't make a statement about something, and then you know the truth.
Aliens don't exist. Oh wait. Science would be useless.
Or Morello's Black Archer.
That is also a possibility.
Yeah, okay, so we can't.
I mean, we know it's not true.
I mean, we do always... Yeah, could be. Any which way, the key here is the siege on Tar Valon is about the harbor. Now, Gareth Bryne also reminds Myrelle, and this more so, that he is now recognizing Hall versus Egwene. And he's starting to pick up on it, and he's saying, but listen, my agreement with you, but then also starting to bring Egwene into it, was that there will be no interference in me and how I handle my men. That was the agreement. I give you an army, I bring you an army, but you don't mix in.
He straight up says, you do not command any of my soldiers. All the commands from the army come from me. Me alone.
Me. Egwene was a little bit off on a tangent as well, thinking about actually starting to feel ill. Like, she's now seen war and what it does. Like the thought of people in the streets, people living in Tar Valon dying, and getting run through, is striking her. And now the theme that sort of also men dying for her
Mm.
started picking up. It's men dying for her and woman dying for Rand. It's always the maidens that's dying for Rand.
Mm-hmm.
That's the memory that Egwene is now starting to touch on, the men dying for her. And I think we're going to see that obviously going forward quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then she turns to Gareth and says to him, Lord Bryne, what do you want me to see? And that is the end of this chapter.
Rad.
He replies, better you see for yourself. Come with me.
P.S. Okay. Joe, what questions do you have about this chapter since you only came out of this with more questions?
The questions are in my chapter. I did have
okay.
something to say, but I forgot now during all this confusion. But if you carry on, then maybe something will pop into my head.
Okay. I thought it was interesting that Theodrin is the stronger between her and Faolain and always takes the lead. I didn't know this, and it makes me happy. Because Theodrin is so much more pleasant. You know, she's the one that's been helping Nynaeve, and she's likable. She's great. Faolain is the one with the face that can sour milk. Like she's the sour one.
And then maybe Faolain does turn out okay.
Well, my next note is, I will say this, I respect Faolain's honesty and her actions here. Like, it worked on me the way she intended it to work on Egwene. Like, I'm like, okay, cool, Faolain. Thanks for being honest, and that's actually respectable. And I'm going to try to look at her in a different light now. When I read the series ages ago, for me, characters like Faolain and Nicola and Theodrin even all kind of just blended together. Like I couldn't quite tell them apart. And I'm really trying very hard now to, form a distinct image and an impression of each of them. And with Nicola and Arena and Faolain, it was very easy to dislike them. But I'm gonna give Faolain her day in court now.
You gotta do it with all people in book life and in real life.
Yeah. Just because you don't like
in real life, have you met someone?
If I have to.
And then years later.
Exactly. I did like how Egwene just left the conversation when she realized, I don't really have to be here for this. You guys are carrying on, and just walks through the wards like, cheers, yeah, I'm going. Like,
totally.
Everybody's like, oh shit, she's leaving. Because they're just talking about her and over her to each other. So
and they weave the barrier against eavesdropping, but custom dictates that the strongest channeler must do it.
Strongest one.
Which is Egwene.
In the presence.
And also if the Amelin is there, the Amelin, Egwene is both of those things. They've ignored both those rules and each other and just cast a dome within a dome over each other.
They are so sucked into their own little battle that they also just look so... it's again precedent to be setting around the discussion of Egwene being Ta'Veren herself. Like the weirdness that happens in and around everything when she takes over here and going forward for a long time.
It could just be like what you said, Phil, like Rand's ripples of Ta'Verenness, like actually just stretching out further than just around him. We're so fixated on, the people getting married and the fish falling in a perfect circle and that sort of stuff. But stuff is happening around the world that is different and disruptive. I'm sorry, before we move away from Theodrin and Faolain, I just had a note here that after they say their oath, they respond to their new instructions with a "as you command, mother" in complete unison, which is awesome. Like Egwene has, you get the sense like, okay, cool, she's got true allies, and that list grows with some significant names in this and the next chapter, which feels like progress. In the past, I feel like the rebel camp stuff dragged on a lot, but this time I'm feeling far more satisfied with the pace of Egwene's evolution as Amelin. There are still moments of frustration, which we will also get into in the next chapter, but they are fleeting. And as I can see now, necessary, like Egwene does still have missteps and moments of uncertainty, but the way that she's like really building what now suddenly seems like quite quickly, where in the past I thought it was so slow and so tedious, maybe again as teenagers looking for just the sword fights and the magic and stuff. Yeah, it's happening, and we're getting into the meat of it now. Like Egwene is like building her little presence and her little cohort within the rebel Aes Sedai. It's at the end of book 10, I think, is when she gets captured. And then she goes on that whole trip inside the tower when she builds up that whole cohort, which is fucking awesome. So I'm excited about all that.
Yeah, I'm super excited. But I mean, also if you reflect on it and you think back, what definitely, and this is speaking to me, like when I read The Wheel of Time the first time, you go in through this recognition period of the group of people, and you get to know all this. So you have these big jumps. Now it's the Aiel, and this was another one of those big jumps. Like, okay, cool. Now it's this tower. Now I got to get to know all of this and repaint. And I was lazy. Like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna know what I know. I just want to see how these people get through the story. And didn't focus on the side stories.
I
Like,
don't think you
as
can.
you say, all of them blended. Yeah, all of them eventually blended into one. And you're like, oh, cool, Theodrin, Faolain, Nicola, this one, that one. It was all just side quests that were happening in this massive storyline game.
And some of them teeny, right? Like, how many times have the girls interacted with Faolain up until this point? 4 times?
No, 4 or 5.
If
5
that, and it's
maybe.
like brief, but now it's something that she is saying can actually give you immense satisfaction. This oath that she swears, and it seems like Theodrin is saying that Faolain is sort of, this was her idea as well. Like, Faolain is the one that's insisting on this, which is, it's great.
There was so much emphasis drawn on negative interactions with Faolain through all the previous stuff, books before already.
Oh, yeah.
And like you just Faolain, negative connotation, Faolain, negative connotation, and then you get Faolain, swear oath, fealty, oaths, all the rest, and also in this tie-in of honor and obligation again, like doing the honorable thing. I have much G for not following that path, not following Romanda or Lelaine's, but going to Egwene and swearing a fealty
The Amelin
to
specifically,
her. Yeah, the Amelin specifically, but also like symbolically, I guess the change of it. This is not normal. This is definitely not the norm. That someone swearing a fealty to the Amelin.
It's never been done.
No. Well,
never been done.
This might actually be one of those things that they mentioned it here. Like, it's not in the secret histories either, so it could possibly be the actual only time it's ever been done.
It's pretty great. I had a chuckle at Swan, who she sees Gareth Bryne approaching and she's already got her hands on her hips. Like, she's just ready for a fight. I think she's also part of the reason why Bryne is cognizant of this dynamic between the Hall and Egwene, because Swan would be actively managing that, right? Like, it's pretty much her biggest job right now is to sort of, how does she both at the same time legitimize Egwene as an Amelin and not let the Hall, like Romanda and Lelaine specifically, run away with the whole thing, while still making her seem meek and not a threat to them so that they don't try and take her out. So it's occupying a lot of Swan's energy. So I bet some of that stuff is spilling out just how she's talking about them in front of Bryne, like, because we know they have loads of conversations off page. So I think she's another reason why Bryne understands that Egwene's position in relation to the Hall is it's not tenuous, but it can be confrontational, right? Like, there is friction between them, with opposing goals being sought. Then I had some notes about Balthamel trying to push Delana into having the Rebel Hall publicly proclaim Elaida as Black Arger. It's a good move. I mean, if you were at Forsaken embedded in the tower, that's what you would do. Egwene has noticed how Delana's goals and allegiances seem to shift constantly. She calls it like a weather vane, like just going whichever way the wind blows. And that's exactly what Delana was afraid of when Halima took control of her. When Arangar came to her and said, "You will now do these things," Delana says outright, "If I keep switching allegiances, these guys are going to get onto me." And that's exactly what Egwene is doing here. Then I had some notes here about the secondhand gossip from Halima is that Elaida is Black Arger, like you said before. Apparently something she learned from her friend, Cabriana Mercandes, the Aes Sedai tortured to death by Semirog, which was also covered. The stories told by Halima about Cabriana raised suspicions with Cabriana's actual friends, Anaya and Chiron. And then I've got here, fun fact, Chiron, who was part of the Saladar embassy to Rand in Camelin, in case you forgot, is very good at creating Quaindiar. She was supposed to turn the South Harbour chain into Quaindiar before she was murdered by Halima. And it's the reason that Egwene herself goes to perform the task and therefore gets captured. So
I remember that so distinctly.
Halima's actions against Chiron Stang is what makes Egwene go. There was actually talk of Bode Cawthon going to do it, but because she's still a novice at the time, Egwene says, no, don't worry, I'll go do it. And when she goes, Nicola is the one that betrays her. Nicola at that time has already run away to the tower proper and betrays our favorite girl. My favorite girl. That's all I got. So, Jody, are you ready to move into your chapter of questions?
I am. You guys had such well done notes that I am feeling really bad. So, at least we'll be done quickly.
Maybe you got to get a Frenchman to converse.
Yeah, distract us with an accent. So the next chapter is chapter 12, called A Morning of Victory. Tell us more about this morning glory, Jody.
I will not. It's not that kind of podcast.
Okay.
But very well done. So yes, a morning of victory. Or should I say, a morning of victory. Bryne leads them to a merchant's wagon train. That's where he's going. I found this whole thing like, so what? What's the big deal, Bryne? But I think it was a reason for Robert Jordan to write 1, 2, probably 5 pages of what the ground around them looks like. The riverbed has rocks that are pushed into the mud, and the water is very low, that it doesn't touch the horse's knees as they cross. But if it had been higher, if it had been raining properly, it would be very deep, and you wouldn't see those rocks, and your horse could break an ankle on it. And all very important things like that. Yes, we get it. It's hot.
I think Gareth is trying to get Egwene away from the rest of the other Aes Sedai so that he can have some straight talk.
Yes, because he does have some straight talk with her right now.
I mean, could he have done that in her tent, in a bubble of no eavesdropping? Probably. But then people would be seeing him talk to her in her tent and conferring, right? So here he's got a thing to go show her. It seems perfectly acceptable for him to go show the Amyrlin Seat something, and now he can have real talk that ends in, as we know, an oath.
Yes, okay. So
Of sorts.
It's more just like this is the way it is now. Anyway, so while he's going there, they're having a chit-chat, and he tells Egwene that he spoke with Tel Manes from the Band of the Red Hand, because while they're walking, they see a bunch of them standing up on a hill, and Myrelle actually mutters under her breath loudly enough to say, like, filthy dragon sworn. And yeah, this is the weird behavior from Myrelle starting all the time. And that he spoke to Tel Manes, and who's really concerned about Egwene, and she's being like, oh, fucking shut your mouth, dude, like, don't say too much to these people that you guys are here because the Dragon Reborn sent you to rescue me. And like, she doesn't need that shit right now. She's just hoping that Telman has kept his mouth shut. But Myrelle is fucking furious that Bryne has been talking to these filthy dragon sworn. Like, and she goes on a fucking...
Labels him a traitor.
Yeah, she calls him a traitor. She's like, that's, what's the word? Treason. Yeah, she's like...
Treasonous.
Yeah, they're like, that could very well be treasonous. In fact, I think it is treason. It's like, I'm like, whoa. And he's just like, water for duck's back. Yes, Myrelle Sedai. No, Myrelle Sedai. And she's like, no. She's fucking shouting and screaming and carrying on at him. Yeah, but anyway, we find out...
We do know that this guy also hung around with Elida a lot. So I think he's got practice just to go like, oh, here we go.
Look, if you can deal with Elida...
de Avronia de Ridiculous.
Ridiculous, exactly.
I've got the same note, Villy. Egwene even comments here that Lord Gareth seems to have learned how to school his voice around Aes Sedai, and I thought, yep, after spending what is probably decades in the palace with Elida, yeah.
And not only
he sure
that, like
has.
in Andor in general, very friendly
The worst
towards the
Aes
tower.
Sedai of all.
Like he's seen hundreds of Aes Sedai. I was going to say thousands, but there aren't that many, so impossible. Hundreds of Aes Sedai in his time.
Probably.
Yeah, so this is not concerning him whatsoever. But Egwene's trying to keep a bunch of secrets about herself and about the band and all kinds of things. During this conversation, we learned that that Matt's army has grown to 10,000. And if I remember correctly, it was 6,000 when they left. Oh, okay, good. So, confirmed. So, yeah, 4,000. But, of course, Brian's army has grown at the same rate as well. So, not to be outshone. There are there's shit tons of people right now. And apparently the people are flocking. He tells her that, Egwene, that people are flocking to the band because of Matt's reputation. Like, they can't lose. Like, so, and she's thinking to herself, like, Matt has a reputation as a soldier? Like, what the what? It's news to her.
That's
like,
the best thing. Like, it just... And I'm sorry, the quick leanness on my face is going to give this away. It's my favorite moment, so I'm just going to put that right there.
It's favorite moment time.
Matt is always recognized long after. Like, he rocked up with an army of 6,000 men. Like, what more? He has an army. 6,000 men don't just follow you blindly unless you're throwing gold at them the whole time. And yes, granted, you pay your soldiers, so they do follow orders. But typically, this is Matt being recognized well after the fact.
I think she just thought that Rand sent them.
Yeah. Like, because he's Rand's buddy.
Put
That's
Matt
how
in
he got
charge.
the job. Yeah, like it's nepotism.
Yeah. But she muses on that, like, oh, just Rand gave him something to do.
Yeah.
Like, cool. Just there's 6,000 men. Go do something. I'm getting you out of the way. No.
But also,
It's
Egwene,
not the case.
Egwene was in Cairhien immediately after the events of the battle with the Shido, when they liberate Cairhien.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she spent time there, and then the Lanfear attack happened and all that sort of stuff. So she must have heard somewhere. I mean, Matt killed Couladin.
The guy
He's
that was
famous
attacking
among the Aiel.
the clan chief.
Anyway,
But okay.
Yeah.
she's probably she tunes all that war talk out when she hears it, must be.
Yeah.
Must be.
Matt got lucky.
Yeah.
He killed some guy, like that guy. Oh.
The leader of the largest invading Aiel force since the Aiel War, but okay.
And what I think that I always need to remind myself when we say these things should be obvious. Like, that person should know that about that. They are in cities with hundreds of thousands of people. There are 100,000 Aiel in Cairhien. Like, there's a lot of people. There's just like the barrier of a lot of people between people. So it's not like they're all hanging out in the same friendship group and then they're in the same school class or they work in the same work building. We all know everything about each other's lives. It's not like that.
And crazy rumors are constantly flying around. Like, whenever someone touches on a rumor that we know is true, it's surrounded by others that are completely fucking batshit.
And I love that you said crazy rumors are flying around, because that's literally how the rumors are sent.
And what they are about to talk about right here.
Yep.
Interjection in my own notes through your conversations is that Veli, Matt did get lucky. That's his whole thing. He did get lucky killing Couladin. So Egwene's not wrong.
Yeah.
Just not as right as you would like to be. So anyway, so we got two big armies growing now, and Brian's like, it's this army I don't think is a threat. Like, he's not concerned that after talking to Talmanis that the band is actually a threat to them whatsoever. But Egwene wants to keep this a secret because of her whole plan on moving the whole army and all the Aes Sedai up north was because, they had this impetus that this army was coming, these dragon sworn. So a lot of the Aes Sedai fear them, like Myrelle as well. So she's like, shut up, don't tell her this.
It's on the nuts and it's
So Myrelle is still screaming. She starts it again. I imagine she stops and starts. I tuned a lot of it out. But eventually Egwene just tells her, just be quiet. Like, shut up now. And says, but it is a good idea, Bryne, to not meet with Talmanis again. I think you've learned, one meeting is enough. Don't talk to them anymore. So we don't want any more secrets getting out. So he tells her, like, when they get to this wagon train, they're looking over, and there's some people hanging from a tree by their necks. Not just playing monkey. So I'm wondering now, the way I figured it out is that perhaps the wagon train the merchants were attacked by these guys, and that the band came in and stopped it and then hanged the perpetrators. Am I guessing this right?
Either the band or Lord Bryne's army, because it's Lord Bryne's men that are busy talking to and sort of dealing with the wagon train, right? It's Gareth's men. It's not Gareth's the band. But they do mention here that the band has been hanging Dragonsworn.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking, because there's...
Yeah, they go out, so the band has been sending scouts out still. So they're still doing what they do as with Matt when they were moving. Cool, we might be moving behind this other army, but we're not taking anything for granted. So they're still sending out scouts. So I don't know if they're scouts. For me, there's confusion about who...
Oh, there's definitely
the scouts are being hanged.
No,
that the scouts had found the brigands or whatever that did the hanging.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think scouts will take on battle with brigands. I mean, it sounded like the tree was full of people, like it was like a bunch of them. But the only thing I took from that, Joe, is that I was shocked that the band, the point that Egwene makes is that even though the band is actively hanging Dragonsworn, the rest of the Aes Sedai still look at the band as Dragonsworn, which is nonsensical, but works for her.
There's no differentiation between Rand's Dragonsworn, which they are, and Massima's man.
Technically,
they don't get that nothing yet. They don't know the madness.
But there's good Dragonsworn and bad Dragonsworn. That's what they don't.
There's capital D Dragonsworn, and then there's lowercase d Dragonsworn, exactly. 2 words.
Exactly. So anyway, we've discovered who hanged who.
Haven't.
So, shush. We're moving on. It's decided. So Gareth Bryne's men are down there negotiating for the sale of all the merchants' goods and already carrying shit away. The merchants, again, not looking happy, just like the farmers having all their shit bought from them, are not looking happy. I suppose they have to give them discount rates, which they could have sold for much higher somewhere else. But shit happens, dude. Shouldn't have run into an army.
You'd think that in a climate like today, a merchant would be happy if someone walks in and buys all his wares.
Yes.
Yeah, but probably at a fraction of what they would have asked for them somewhere else.
They're getting bulk discount. That's what happens. You buy in bulk.
Bulk discount.
You get it
macro deals.
Yeah. So anyway, he tells her, it's like, Bryne, this is like, okay, this is why I brought you, yes, because these guys, when we were talking to them, I have some crazy ass rumors flying around. And one of them is that Rand has gone to swear fealty to Elida. He's gone to the White Tower. And like, he drops this, what he thinks is a bomb. And then Egwene just lolls. And the, like Billy said, this is a registered lol, or what is it? Confirmed lol?
Yeah. Verified.
Verified lols. This is not an unverified lol. She literally bursts out laughing and then goes like, okay, maybe I should like control myself a bit. But he's like, there's no fucking way that Rand is going to do that.
No.
We don't have to worry about it. He's like, yeah, look, I know, if you say it's not true, whatever. But the rumor's going to spread. It's going to get into my guy's camp. It's going to get into the Aes Sedai camp. It's going to get around. So she's like, all right, well, listen, we'll send some Aes Sedai sisters into the armor camp and, give a speech, gather the men. We'll explain them like, this is the rumor going around. It's not true, blah, 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 blah. Just to reassure everybody. He's like, all right, that sounds like a good plan. And she names like a couple of them who are going to do. I think Beonin is one of them. I'm just pulling a name out of my head. But anyway, he's cool with it. So in very few words, he tells her here, like after looking at her, like, all right, I'm basically giving you the army, not the hall. I have the actual words here because this is also a big step.
So do I.
He says to her, you will do very well, it appears, mother. I wish you continued success, all right? So set up your time for this afternoon. I will come. I will come whenever you send for me. We should begin making our plans on how to put you on the Amaryllis seat once we reach Tarvalon. And she stops and thinks like, wait a minute, did he just give me the army? Like, is that what his words meant? Because it seems like he did. And he did. So he's decided, looking at the hall, going, these guys are fucking fighting amongst themselves. This young woman has her head, screwed on straight. I'm going to,
And lining up with the right people.
Yeah.
So don't waste your time with people who's infighting. Like, connect yourself with the guy who controls the 100,000 men.
After he said that to her, he gives her a careful nod while holding her eyes. Like he's looking in the eyes going, yes, you heard what I said, right?
What you're thinking? Yes, that.
The army is yours. Says to her, we should confer regularly.
Yes. So like me and you, not us, not you in the hall and me.
No.
Just the two of us.
Set your time for this afternoon and I will come. We should confer regularly. I will come whenever you send for me.
Yeah, like
Gareth.
How good is Gareth Bryne?
He's the
Love
man.
him.
Like how good is he?
Like Billy, you were saying like they're calling the boar as he's walking through, like so many men, like he has so many men's loyal.
The bull.
What did I say?
You said the boar.
Yeah, you said
It's the bull. Gawain is the boar.
Oh, all right. Maybe I said boar. I certainly didn't say bull. But anyway,
No.
yes, you were saying that he has so many men's loyalty, and I was like about to tell you, like he has my loyalty. Like I'm 100% Gareth
totally.
Bryne, team Bryne, dude.
Yeah.
But it's very cool that we have these characters written into the story, older people. So Gareth Bryne, we've got Adlaius and Van Dien. We've got Myrelle.
Yeah.
And you can go on. And even Pedron Denial. And what is beautiful about all of these people that you would imagine to be sort of 60s, maybe after, is that they are solidly set in their ways.
Like old people.
None of them are quick, brash in decision making, not slow,
Steady.
just steady.
Tam.
Everything is steady about them. Like Tam, steady. Oh, I didn't even mention Tam. Like,
you did now.
Just that steadiness is there, and I love it. Like there's these almost anchors of. I want to use morality, but it's not about morality because some of them aren't moral. But just
totally.
like pillars of consistency, I suppose. Like,
yes.
Consistently gonna get reliability from them.
That's another reason why I think Bryne is also so like unaffected by Myrelle's tirade, right? It's not just because he's been around Elida. It's just because he actually doesn't give a shit. Like she can lose her shit on the back of the horse and go nuts and everything. He's like, okay. Egwene uses the phrasing, it's like rain on a boulder, twice. Later she says, just the rain washing off the boulder. And he's just going, yes, Myrelle Sedai. But he's never taking his eyes off the ridgeline. He's scanning the he's not even really paying attention to her because he just doesn't care.
It's like he's learned that. Why argue?
He knows what he knows.
She's not gonna any just knows. Like, and I'm like in my 40s now, like as we all are. You know what? I'm learning some of this with my children. Like this is what children teaches you. Just like you can't even argue with them.
Just let it wash over you.
Let it rub off, roll off, let it wash over me. Like this the cool. Carry on.
Yes.
Do what you need to do.
Fear is the mind killer. Let it wash over you. All right. Jesus, guys, I know I said my notes are bad, but I still got quite a few pages to go. All right, so let's go. Where am I now?
Focus in.
Yes, there we go. So Egwene is curious about what old Myrelle is hiding because she is exceptionally nervous. But Swan knows almost everything right away. She is with, and she's like, "All right, Myrelle, let's take us where you're hiding him." And she's like, "What?" Egwene, that is, and Myrelle as well. Myrelle is like, "How the fuck do you know all this shit? Like, you know everything." Like, oh my god, she's freaking out. there's a point here where Egwene actually notices a drop of sweat on her brow. And she's like, what? Aes Sedai's sweating. She's gripping her skirts. She is nervous as fuck. Like, she's so transparent and so very un-Aes Sedai. We've discussed this before. And on my walk this morning, I was thinking, why would that be? And we'll get to that.
I know.
I know too. I have a thing, but it could be different.
I think we both on the same track.
Maybe.
Because it also didn't hit me the first, second, or third time. It only hit me today, like on this last, like listening, and I'm sitting and because now I've made my notes, I'm just listening to the chapter. I'm sitting and playing game. I'm like, oh, and the penny just dropped. Like, okay,
I'm in the dark here. What are you guys talking about?
Let's just get to it.
Okay.
Where they're going is Villy. Just chill. Where they're going, where they're taking him, is to a secret little camp that Myrelle has outside of town, where she is guarding and keeping secret Lan. So, Villy, my thing is, to a degree, I wasn't not just that secret that she's keeping Lan. That is, she is bonded to Lan and Lan's emotions, and she's never been bonded to anybody like Lan. I think that is fucking with her a bit as well. Not to mention because it turns out in this chapter that one of the ways that you keep a warder whose Aes Sedai has died is you bone him, and apparently she has slept with Lan. It's pretty much confirmed in this chapter to try and keep him. She's trying everything to keep him alive. But can you
we should
imagine
tell the listeners the awkward pauses that have been in here is you guys gesturing with your hands sexual actions, which doesn't translate well to the audio.
Because we are 12.
We are still children. We don't do these things like
40-something-year-old children.
Villy started it. It was Villy. So basically they get back to the camp and she says, Swan says, bring him out. And she's like, oh my God, because Swan doesn't know who it is exactly. Does she know that it's Lan? She knows that she's hiding. It's weird, but she's pretty much this close.
No, she does know it's Lan. She does know it's Lan because on the ride there she makes a comment like, you shouldn't be buying something,
peppers.
Not ice peppers, but some kind of peppers.
Other
they
peppers.
are popular in Melkir.
Yes, from Shinar. That's only popular in Shinar and Melkir.
So but she figures it out on the way there. She knows she's hiding something. On the way there, during this questioning, that's when Myrelle starts to break down completely. And Swan figures out that it is Lan, but Egwene is in the dark this entire time.
The way I read it is that Swan knew it was Lan because of the peppers and that comment. Like, she came into this conversation with the knowledge of the peppers, and you find out later that they're popular in Shinar and Melkir. But what Swan didn't know is where the camp was. So while Myrelle is busy talking to Egwene, Swan suddenly stops in front of them and goes, Myrelle, you better lead the way. And Egwene's all pissed off going, she was about to admit something, because Egwene's using the whole Rand Colavere silence trick. Egwene's just not talking, and Myrelle is sort of like getting more and more nervous and incriminating herself. She's about to spill the beans, and then Swan interrupts, and Egwene is annoyed by it. But then afterwards, Swan tells Egwene, I didn't know where we were going, so I had to make Myrelle go ahead and pretend as if we knew we were going, so that she would, feel like she's cooperating, and therefore her punishment wouldn't be so bad.
The excuse being like, if you cooperate now and lead the way and whatnot, then we'll go lighter, we'll go easy on you. But anyway, so they do get there eventually, and there he is, our man Lan. And there's a scene where he comes out and Myrelle goes up to him and whispers something to him, and he just cruises out to a spot where he's standing over there and whips out his sword and gets into like 1 foot. I don't know what that position is called, if anybody remembers. It looks like the beginning of sheathing the sword.
It's called
Heron wading in the rushes.
When he's standing on the 1 foot.
On the 1 foot with a sword in the air.
It's called the Heron kick from Karate Kick.
The lethal flamingo.
That's what it is. One of those birds standing somewhere with one leg up. And that's what he's doing. And he just goes and stands there dead still in this position, not moving, not saying anything. And he's just ready.
Super weird.
Super weird. Like, okay.
Making it weird, Lan.
Also, the weirdness, can you imagine what Myrelle is feeling through the bond? Like, not only is it directly from Lan, but it's also directly from the other 3 warders that she has, feeling totally inadequate now that Lan is hanging around. Can you imagine their emotions coming through? Like, I used to think I was good until I met this guy. Fuck him. So there's a whole bunch of shit
Well,
going down. I think that's what's affecting.
The one thing that they all will at least go for is that she hands over the bond to Nynaeve. They'd be like, yeah, he's got to go. He's got to
Probably.
go. You've got to feel worthy again.
So anyway, there's a full-on conversation about how this is akin to rape, bonding a man against his will. Passing a bond is basically the same as doing as bonding someone against his will, because he was not involved in the conversation whatsoever. But she explains that this is what Moraine intended, and it is to pass it on to Nynaeve when she is ready. But then you raised Nynaeve so quickly and sent her away, and excuses. Everything's just like flowing out of her. Oh, by the way, Nassau is there too. That's the other one.
Yeah.
The Aes Sedai who's involved in this plot. And she's already just like, she sees what's happening and immediately just gives up. Like, all right, this was a stupid idea to begin with. I should never have listened to you. Like, don't try and talk your way out of it. We're just going to accept what's happening here. Yes, mother, no mother. Like, Nassau's already like, she just heard that Lan is hurting big time, and that she's a yellow and she's a healer, and she likes like figuring out like diseases of the mind and stuff like that, so she is there to help him. She couldn't give up this opportunity. Also,
There's
who's
two
there?
other women there.
Also, who's
Do
there
tell.
are our lovely friends Nicola and Arena. Now they are very industrious women, I tell you, because they also found out about Lan, and then when their blackmailing attempt failed on Egwene, they found out about Lan and are now blackmailing Nassau and Myrelle into giving them extra lessons out here in the bush in their secret camp, so that they won't go and tell everybody that Lan is there, and that
Relentless.
just like, well, look, you got to give it to them. They are
Industrious is right.
Nicola knows what she wants. She knows what her potential is, and she wants to achieve it, and no one's helping her. But she must learn some of that wise one patience. The wise ones would have set her straight ages ago. But apparently, they're not there.
If she had gone through a bit of Wiseman training, she'd be a hell of a lot better. But then again, she didn't.
She didn't.
It's going to be a really bad.
Now she's the worst. Yeah, so there it is. So anyway, they have that whole conversation. About that, we find out about who's been doing who. Oh, yes. I forget now. I don't have this in my notes. Is this when, suddenly Lan starts going into a carter and starts doing, while they're having this whole
Kills two
conversation.
grasshoppers.
Yeah, it's like like that scene, two grasshoppers hop up behind him, and he turns around and flicks them out of the air with his sword without like actually breaking his rhythm at all. He's
Does he
coated
stop
in
his
sweat.
move in front of Egwene's face,
Yes.
like with a sword?
Eventually. Yeah.
It's like
eventually.
Eventually.
He's going faster and faster. The blade is blurring. Everyone is stopping and staring eventually. Even the other warders turn around to like look at him and go like get some pointers.
Well, they're also guarding him, right? Like,
Yeah, they're supposed to
also
be
in
keeping
charge
an
of
eye.
their Aes Sedai's safety while this wild man is swinging a sword around
And
violently.
he's feral, man. He's really not in a good spot.
Feral. I love that you use
Disagree.
that word. And look at Moritz shaking his head. He
No.
still says
How
that is
how could
the
a
epitome
feral
of the
animal-
word feral.
a person that is feral cannot execute an exact kata? That is discipline and skill.
Meant-
that is the
listen.
opposite of being feral.
Feral
No.
does not mean that he doesn't have self-discipline. Feral means that to the people or the person trying to control him, he is so wildly detached.
He seems feral to them, which is why everyone's on edge around him, because look, he's not the same old
Sure.
man. He's gone through some hectic shit and he's dealing with it. All right, in his own special way. So he's much rougher around the edges than he used to be. He used to be very stoic. Now he just seems angry, which he probably is. So anyway, he's busy carrying on, flipping around, never breathing hard whatsoever. He's very sweaty. He's got his shirt off. It's a great scene for the ladies. And Egwene goes, "There's one thing you haven't tried to heal this guy," and she just walks up to him and stops in front of him, and this is when he stops the blade as he turns and stops the blade a few inches from her head. But she was pretty sure that he was not going to slice her head off, so she's in control. And she tells him, "Listen, Nynaeve is in danger. She's in Ebou Dar. She needs your protection." And he goes, "All right, let's go." Like not a hint of hesitation whatsoever. He's like, "Shit, excellent. I think he tells, who is it? Arena, saddle my horse, and off he goes.
Yeah.
He gets his shit packed. Like a minute later, he's outside with saddlebags, his shirt's on, he's got his water cloak. He is, and this is the thing. Like, well, I think that Arena's not as bad as Nicola because Mandob likes her, or at least tolerates her. So she's busy saddling up old Mandob.
What Egwene reads from that is that Arena has handled Mandob before. So this arrangement that Nicola and Arena have had, it's just to show that that's been going on for a while.
Yeah. So the horse likes her, will tolerate her.
It's not because she's nice.
No. No one's suggesting she's nice. But look, if you look at the couple that Nicola and Arena, Arena's the better one. She's the lesser of two evils. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. She is there because she wants to learn
they're
from.
both terrible.
No, Jesus.
There's no goodness in either of them.
I'm allowed to have my opinions. However
your
incorrect they
opinion
may
is
seem.
stupid
I'm just telling you that I disagree with your
Stick it
opinion.
up.
We can move on.
Yeah, your opinion is wrong.
No, it's just not mine.
Yes. All right. I understand you have different opinions. Just like, never mind. I'm not even going to go there. Anyway, so where am I? You keep making me lose my place in the notes. So anyway, yeah, they're going off.
Because you got such a wrong opinion. Wayward. We've got to redirect you.
So Egwene tells Nassau and Myrelle is like, listen, he's going to do this. He's going to be fine because the two of them are in love. Like Nynaeve and Lan are in love. And Nassau's like, yeah, I get that Nynaeve is in love with Lan, but I don't think Lan is in love with her. Lan's not in love with anyone. So many women have thrown themselves at him and wada, but they've never been able to take him down. She's like, listen, I know the truth.
Don't know.
You know
they
nothing.
Don't know.
And she goes, also, and she turns to them after this conversation and says to them, like, listen, and also one more thing, these extra lessons for Nicola are going to stop right now. And Myrelle's like, holy fuck, you do know everything. Like, Myrelle's mind is blown by the knowledge that Egwene supposedly has. But she's like, Egwene's playing it so well, like, and just Myrelle's just dumbfounded. Like, this woman is
so
in
Swan.
charge of everything. Yeah.
Swan as well.
Is shocked. Swan hadn't puzzled that out, and she's annoyed, that A, Nicola is blackmailing an Aes Sedai, and B, that she didn't figure it out first. But Egwene just knows because of Nicola's other behavior that she is likely to have asked for that, and she takes a punt, and she's right.
Same.
Yeah, like exactly. Swan has no
But that
inkling.
is quite astute, I suppose. I mean, massively astute of her to do that.
Big time.
And yeah, it's like that is all Egwene. That's not information or being fed or being helped, or that's just her sharpness.
Totally.
Yes. So anyway, Lan's on his way. Lan says, look, I got to leave now because it'll take me at least a month to get there. Egwene says, listen, dude, we've discovered some shit in your absence. I can have you there this afternoon. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. He's not even shocked. He's like, fine, whatever. So he doesn't know what you're talking about, but whatever. You say it must be true. So she opens up, because there's this, the word is, like, the sentence is, she opens up a gateway 8 feet by 8 feet. And I was like, ha! The mistake in the book. There's no way she can travel from this spot because she doesn't know it. And then she makes a platform up here. And I'm like, shit. Okay. Got ahead of myself. All right. And then they explained it as well. Like she has been 6 or 7 days north of Ebou Dar before when she was visiting somebody. I don't remember the story, but she knows that area. So that's how she can skim there. So anyway, she's skimming, but she makes like a giant barge, like a river barge. Not a platform, and old Mandob and Lan and her jump in and leave the other Aes Sedai arguing amongst themselves, and it's a long, boring trip there and back. There's some talking. She lets him out, and he's just like, you've come a long way since the Two Rivers, and he apologizes for dragging her out of there and throwing her into the middle of all of this shit. But anyway, so she's on her way back, and it's boring because she's by herself, and it takes like half an hour or something. I don't know. It's not. It's the obligatory traveling scene. You have to include it, but not much happens.
The apple cart inclusion.
Yeah. So when she returns, she hears Nassau and Swan and everybody fighting, and Nassau's threatening Swan, like, you can't fucking talk to us like this. You are weaker than us now. You're lower down than us, and like that kind of thing that Swan's having difficulty adjusting to. Egwene comes there and she settles the story, and she goes, listen, you better send Nicola and Arena back to the camp because they are not going to be listening to this shit that's coming next.
Yeah. So
like she gives them the same spiel, like, look, if you want to show your reliability and your faith, and can I trust you and all of that kind of stuff, and for your penance, maybe you take it down. You guys are going to have to swear fealty to me, because I've already done it once this morning with 2 others. What's 2 more? And basically, and gets Myrelle and Nassau to kneel before her and swear fealty to him. And this is where they say, like, to her, to say this has never happened before. They're like, Myrelle tells her, you are a dangerous woman, and you probably, you're going to break the tower more than it already is. But they do it. They swear fealty, and the reluctance be damned, it's done. So she tells him, like, listen, pack up camp. Get the fuck back here to the main camp. Your little secret trip is done. And they head off. On their return, she tells Swan of Nicola and Arena's previous blackmail attempt. So Swan is privy to that information as well. Like, don't feel bad about not figuring it out. This I know, because they did it to me. So Swan's like, oh, well, it looks like Nicola and Arena are going to have to meet with a little accident. It's like, fuck it, Swan. Holy shit. Swan's straight to just murdering them, straight up. And Egwene's like, no, there will be no murdering. Like, we will sort this out. In the end, it turns out that murdering them might have been better, once we know what happens. But it was all, Egwene's path back to the tower, and it's a radical story. Thank God they didn't murder those two young women. Anyway, no murdering is being done.
Not for the sake of the story. Yeah. Just thank God they didn't murder innocent women because they were innocent at the moment. They were just ambitious, and that's not the way that you do it. You don't murder people to keep your way open. It's like the wrong way to start your life as Amyrlin Seat.
Yeah, and well, maybe she knows that.
Yeah. So anyway, who knows what other Amyrlins have done in the past? I'm sure a lot of them were privy to a lot of murder.
Guarantee you, Elida has murdered someone by now.
Well, she murdered Swan's water.
She had Swan's water murdered.
As good.
Yes. If you say so. She sent, when she gets back to the camps as well, she tells Swan to go and collect the rest of them. We'll please inform Sheriam and Myrelle's group to come to the Amyrlin study, and she's going to bring Sheriam under heel today with this. And I imagine she's going to swear fealty as well. Now, I'm wondering I said at the beginning that I have a lot of questions during my chapter, but during our discussions now, this 2 hours or 3 hours, a lot of my questions were answered. But what is her angle with Sheriam to make her swear fealty to her? Because a lot of the times, like everyone else, she has leverage over. She has something.
Sheriam thinks she controls the hall.
But I mean, why would Sheriam go, okay, I'll swear fealty? Swear fealty to you. Why
I don't think Sheriam controls the hall. Lelaine and Romanda control the hall.
Yeah, but I mean, besides that, what is going to make Sheriam bend the knee?
No. She must have.
She's got something.
Some kind of plan.
Yes. My question is, I suppose I'll just have to Raffo, eh?
Raffo.
Damn you guys. Why don't you have the answers I want now?
A little bit longer.
I want, what's instant gratification, please. I don't like to wait for things. So anyway.
Hey, this isn't Snapchat.
So Egwene goes... This is Snapchat. So Egwene goes back into her tent. Oh, by the way, she's had a headache this entire time. For like these entire three chapters. Surprise. 3 chapters now, we never mentioned the headaches, but she has had them. Or one, I suppose. It's the same one. So she's sitting there at her desk, going over sitting in the chair that's all rickety and almost collapses under her. Surely somebody in the camp can fix that chair. Just thinking about how she's going to do things, all the problems that she's got, and this thing about Delana wanting to talk about the freaking Black Aja and make a proclamation, and how to deal with Sheriam and Lelaine and Romanda. When in walks our good old buddy Halima. Speaking of headaches, and just like invites herself into the tent. And during her conversation, she's like, oh, looks like you've got a headache again. I can see it from your face. And let me give you a massage. And she starts talking to her like a droning sensation. Egwene kind of like zones out. So I assume that Halima's channeling during this process as well. I don't know what she's trying to do. Put ideas in her head? Compel her? At the moment, I don't know. But yeah, the massage is also trying to relieve her headache.
Okay. So I might be wrong. So Halima is Agenor is
No.
Balthamel.
No, Agenor and Balthamel are two different people.
Yes,
Arangar
that's confusing.
and Balthamel.
Arangar, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Halima is Arangar,
Yes.
is Balthamel.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So maybe the touchiness is just being creepy.
A pervert.
Like taking advantage of this. A pervert, yeah.
Totally.
Well,
Like straight up like
he totally was a
touchy
pervert
because
like
I
he was
can.
known for it.
It's
So-
under the guise of a woman.
Yeah,
now,
Egwene says
so-
it's Halima
and-
looks like what a leering man would design a woman as, like what a lecherous man would design a woman to be. That's her, and it's like that's exactly what happened. So she was designed, and this is where we hear.
I think she was a farmer from the Black Hills.
Was she?
Like she was a woman. Her body was retaken,
Repurposed.
repurposed.
Oh, okay.
But repurposed because of
For that
wow,
reason.
this is
Yes,
too
oh,
good
yes.
to waste. Yeah, this is. I really need to save this one. Clink. Inventory stashed for later.
And Balthamel was pissed off about it. When Arangar is awoken, he's in a rage about this cruel joke that's been played on him to be in a woman's body. He didn't choose it. It was done to him.
Exactly, because of his previous reputation of being a slimy son of a
lecher.
bitch with women. Yeah. So anyway, this is where we learn that Egwene actually likes Halima, and she's like, she's actually, she's sort of semi-respectful, but also like just chatty and like down to earth, and it's refreshing, and she enjoys the conversation she has with them, and she's even thinking about how Halima has this reputation, the way she walks and talks and flirts with everybody, but nobody has any stories of her actually shagging
doing anything.
Which is, I imagine, because it's
be
a dude.
totally weird.
Yeah, because inside he's still a dude.
Balthamel.
Yeah, just flirts with the men to keep up appearances, as part of his disguise. So anyway, Egwene's mind is wondering about all the things she has while she's getting this head massage, and that's how the chapter ends.
Very weird tone at the end there. It's a creepy come down because after all Egwene's wins during the previous parts of this chapter and the previous chapter itself, this one ends with her in a Forsaken's hands thinking about how she's finally in control. Those are her thoughts. I'm finally in control, with like Balthamel standing like rubbing her scalp as she's sort of, and then she is sort of dozy as well. There's a very weird tone here. I also thought about compulsion, Joe. Like
something,
because compulsion also comes in like different shades. Like it can be heavy or light. Like just coaxing and making herself,
just suggesting, suggesting ideas, not telling you do this, but just putting planting ideas in her head, I think.
And just getting close.
Getting close, getting comfy. I don't think that it was any which way sort of the controlling type of compulsion, or the you're going to go and do this, as opposed to it being sort of
you like
trust
me.
in me.
Yes.
You like. We prefer to Aladdin, the original Disney movie. Trust in. No, Disney movie as well. But it is Jungle Book, where the snake gets into this to the eyes. Trust in me, trust in me. That's Halima.
That's Halima right now. A snake, entirely. A snake hypnotizing some innocent
100%.
Jungle person.
All right, I have a bunch of notes that we didn't touch on. So, Vil, if you've got anything, now's your time.
Ooh, there's so much to touch on in that chapter. I think the biggest thing of this all and bringing it together is that ultimately through all of this, the Dark One has their powers on everyone. Halima's there rubbing Egwene's head. There's always a Forsaken in
Forsakening
control. You've got these rogues fighting up, but the lid is still on. We can agree the seals are still intact, but they're going to be broken. But
only some of them, like half of them are broken already.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're
That's not insignificant.
We're getting out. We've got the new Amerlin under control. We're trying on Rand.
Now your friends are doing well.
We're doing well. Samael's got Ilian.
Taim is there.
We're all over the show.
Agenor is Dashiva. He's right there. He's right next to Rand at the moment.
Right next to Rand, right next to Egwene.
Yeah.
We haven't given up. We're just not really good
Just
at
plugging away.
strategizing yeah, we don't have an end game. We're just plugging away. we got good positions, but with no end game.
Well, my first notable is actually related to that because I think I've said on here before, like I found the whole Bowl of Winds storyline to be a bit distracting and annoying. Like there seems to be a lot of importance placed on it. Like a lot of actions and activity is around this search and like getting the bowl and everything. But here we have Egwene actually have the thought about Nynaeve and Elaine's search. She thinks to herself, the world would live if she failed. They had to succeed. So, like she's noticing like how bad it is for food production and what an absolutely massive impact it's having on the world.
Absolutely, what I wanted to touch on. Like we say that this is, and it reminded me like that this. Okay, Bowl of Winds a little bit out there, like, but we are continuously told about how hot it is, how dry it is, how there's no food, shit's bad. Things are burning because it's dry. It's a situation. It's not cool. So the Bowl of the Winds is rather important to fix the weather so that the fucking snow can come back actually, and we can have trout growing to 5 pound size in the rivers again. Totally. Because that ain't there at the moment. It's affected. The trout is down. There's not fishing. There's no food. There's no grain. Like it's shit.
Now, when Bryne is talking to Egwene about the Talmanis' force growing, he says Shen An Kalhar is rumored to never lose. And I was like, is that Matt? Oh no, it's the Band of the Red Hand in the Old Tongue. The only thing Siuan can admit about Bryne is that he is formidable. And even when she said that to Egwene, she tried to make it sound like she was actually meaning something else. The way that Egwene shuts Myrelle down, Jodie, is she just goes, be quiet, Myrelle. No one's going to do anything to Lord Bryne. It's like, be quiet, Myrelle, exclamation mark. So she's shouting at her, be quiet. Just shut up now.
She's got a headache. She's feeling cack and those women won't shut up.
Yeah, totally. Egwene thinks that the band is flaunting itself when some of the men wear red bands on their arms. She says even lately some of them are taken to wearing red bands on their arms, but it's the red arms. It's the military police. Like she doesn't know anything about what they've set up. Yeah, just this little hints of Egwene's ignorance, right? Like she doesn't know about Rand and the whole Do Mice Wells thing. So in that conversation with Amish, she seems totally uninformed. Yeah, she never knew about this whole Myrelle and land thing. She doesn't know what the band is doing. So she is still young. She's making some solid headway into her Amerlin-ness, but she is still learning a lot.
It's so blatantly obvious for me that RJ, being a military man, has put a red band around the arm, just like military police would be in the United States Army. They have that MP band around there. Or maybe it's in the movies. Maybe it's not really like that. Maybe influenced by Hollywood, yeah. But so kind of I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. When I read the name of one of Myrelle's warders here, Nuhil, I was like, we've read about that dude before.
Yes, we have.
He's the Illianer warder that comes to say, Gareth Bryne, or like this. There's a man approaching Saladar with an army camped out in the woods, and I swear I'm going crazy, but I'm pretty sure that's Gareth Bryne, and he's like the one warder that sort of seems like a little bit jolly in that scene. Like he's got, well, firstly his funny Illianer accent. And secondly, he's sort of like joking around about it. But I just remember liking him. I was like, yes, Nuhil, that's you. Okay, got you.
How can you dislike anyone with the Illianer accent? It's impossible.
You mean like Leandrin?
She's toned down her accent. That's why.
No, but isn't she Tarrabona?
Actually, she is Tarrabona,
she's
isn't
not
she?
Illianer, she's Tarrabona. Yeah, she's got braids. So, yeah, I stand by my statement.
I enjoyed that lovely bit of deduction from Egwene figuring out that Nicola was giving those or getting the extra lessons. And then finally, Siuan gives Nicola and Irena the tongue lashing I was hoping that Egwene would give them. She puts the fear of the Dark One in them. She grabs them by the ears and hauls them off by the ear. And apparently what she said, like, I think Egwene says that Nicola goes white as a sheet or something. So you can only imagine what Swan Sanche said to those girls. I mean, the girls that she is also perfectly willing to murder.
Bro, I'll murder you.
Go back and shut up about this, or you will meet with an accident. But her language when she says that is, our two adventurous lasses are about to meet with accidents. Like, she is so nonchalant about it. Like, she's half joking. And it made me think of, Jodie, you'll probably remember this, Byron Hadley in Shawshank Redemption, when they're busy tarring the roof. And Andy Dufresne goes, do you trust your wife? And he goes, this boy's about to have himself an accident. He drags him over to the edge of the wall.
Byron.
That exchange between Myrelle and Egwene as well, where Myrelle says to her, you've done what has never been done, mother. That is always dangerous. Egwene's response is, it won't be the last time.
I'm just getting started, bitches.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Oh, funny. That just occurred to me. Sorry, that just occurred to me now. Like, Egwene doing all of these new things and making the Aes Sedai swear allegiance is because she's being so undermined. Like, no one will take her seriously. She is forced into... There's no other way for her to do it. So it's your own fault, Hall.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Exactly the same thing that's happening with Rand. Rand's doing exactly the same thing. They give it all in the beginning, like, let's do it willingly, and then they realize, like, okay, cool, the only way to be ultimate ruler is to do it by force.
I think Rand is a bit quicker to go to the hammer, right? Like, his approach is, I am the Dragon Reborn, do what I say, or else.
I'll hang you with the rest of them.
Kalandor.
At least now. Maybe in the beginning was a bit more circumspect.
But what I wanted to touch on is, I think we give Myrelle a hard time. And I know for a fact that maybe how she's doing, well, I say that for a fact, as if I know anything. But what she's doing, she is doing because it worked before.
With Lan.
It worked before with other warders.
Yeah.
And yes, specifically referring to Lan. Sorry, I should have maybe been clear about that. But it worked. Like, it's a flawed method, as there's many flawed method where the end result still is okay or okayish or good, but she doesn't have ill intention. I think that she is taking too much pleasure perhaps out of the fact that Lan is who he is. So it's like, okay, cool, I'm not saving a soldier, I'm saving a king.
Yeah.
Like, and he's also a sword blade master king. He's also like super hot and he's Lan.
I'll shag him, yeah.
He's Lan. Okay, so I'm gonna enjoy my methods a little bit more, to the point of being bitten blue in the neck for everyone to see.
Oh yeah, she's got a hickey.
He's got a
Lan.
hickey.
Oh,
No, not a hickey.
he's got a hickey.
Lan's got a hickey and a bite, and like an actual. I think it's not a hickey. Sorry, hickey is
a bruise.
What is it?
Egwene describes it as a bruise. A hickey is a love bite.
He's got
That's a bruise.
Love bite. No, that's not a love bite. It felt like me like there was a spider type.
Well, she isn't a spider. She doesn't have fangs.
No.
Egwene doesn't mention a bite mark. She mentions a bruise. I think. I'm fairly sure.
I'm willing to put a $1 on it.
Okay, $1 on the table.
$1 on the table.
Pretty sure Myrelle is looking to marry Lan. There is a rumor that she has married all her warders, and in a previous book, I think, in Tel'aran'rhiod, when she wears that marriage knife, another knife or another gem appears on her necklace.
Already started appearing on the necklace.
Yeah, so her intentions
No, we remember even
clear.
then we mentioned it.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Sort of Lan, and it only happened, was it when Lan's name was mentioned?
I think so. It was, or was it?
I kind of remember something.
No, it was just that I think Myrelle was just in Tel'aran'rhiod with the other sister Sheriam and those guys, when Elaine and Nynaeve
because that was
those guys
also
were coaching
like
them.
flickering. Like,
but she had her marriage knife and then an extra one, an extra thing, whether it was a gem or an extra dagger or whatever it was, also appeared and then disappeared again.
There was a mark on his neck, a bruise. It might, just might, be a bite. So Either or.
Bit of both.
Yeah, all right.
I have quoted from the holy texts.
Halima has a brief look of defiance when Egwene suggests she should have gone home. Careful, Balthamel. Don't give away your game. But yes, remember, was it last episode or more than one episode ago? I was asking, like, when did the headache start? Because Egwene thinks about her headaches and then thinks about Delana, and was that, linking the headaches with Halima? And it turns out that Egwene says here that the headache started the day after Logain escaped. So quite some time ago. So the headaches have been going for a while.
Mm.
And that is it from me. Anything else from you guys?
9.
Nah, I just
9
like
things.
to throw it in as it comes up.
Or should I say with an accent? 9!
10% preparation, 90% just flow.
All right, then let's get to our favorite moments.
Billy's already said his.
I've said mine.
Like early. This is mine. Mine is Lan. Of course.
Lan doing things. I knew you were going to...
Of course. Lan walking out of that tent,
transparent, the two
no
of you.
shirt on, sword in hand,
Uh-huh.
in position, and then
Yeah.
a full-on fucking Carter with everybody stopping whatever they're saying to look at him and go, whoa.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's Myrelle's getting all those like vibes from her warders who are feeling less than great.
I think they feel in danger. I think they're scared of him.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
well they should be.
Now imagine the feeling that she's getting is like, wait, these 3 guys that never fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, a whole bunch of weird jumble of emotions messing with this poor woman.
I'll throw her a bone there.
Lan reminds me of Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack.
An anime character flying through the air like arches, like straight, and samurai like down, and like, you know what I mean? Like in the,
know exactly
the
what you mean.
classic
Yeah.
anime
Yeah.
drawing, like lines and things. And that's Lan.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the things. That's what makes
What was yours again, Phil?
Matt being recognized by Egwene about his actually
Oh, that he has a
good
reputation.
general, like he's got a reputation, and not a bad reputation.
Oh, he has
a
that too.
winning, good 6,000 men. So it's like the good reputation side of his.
Good old
Army
Matt
is-
is not even in the chapter and
Good
he
old
gets
Matt.
a favorite moment.
In the chapters, and he gets it. Mhm.
Yeah, man, that's a skill no other character can pull off.
That's awesome. Well, Joe, you and I are pretty close again. Mine is also Lan related, but it's specifically the exchange between Lan and Egwene. So a couple things. Lan's intensity, first of all. The obvious caution the other Aes Sedai and warders are showing towards him, and then Egwene sort of just walking towards him. Egwene's precarious position in these chapters and then taking charge of this situation, overruling Myrelle. Lan's apology to her for bringing her and Nynaeve out of the 2 rivers, which is kind of cool because it's Lan sort of placing Egwene on the same level as Nynaeve. The logic of Egwene's task for him, I love that Egwene just cuts right to the heart of it. He needs a purpose that is beyond any kind of doubt, and this is the perfect thing for him. And the other Aes Sedai even admit to it, and they just go, well, we didn't think, that he was in love with her, and that's why it would work, or whatever that may be. The fact that Egwene can use skimming to get him really close, like he says, it'll take me a month, and she says, I can get you there within 5 or 6 days of Ebou Dar. How he then states he can do it faster than Egwene first thought. Like when they get there, he's like, I'll be faster than that. Don't worry about that.
I'll be faster
And then-
than that.
His last words to Egwene are by your command, mother, the watch is not done.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Feels
is
Fucking
cool.
Lan.
It's so Lan. Fun fact, when he said those words, I thought, man, that sounds really familiar. And I looked it up. When Lan coaches Rand how to speak to the Aes Sedai in Feldara in the Great Hunt, Swan tells Rand to sit, boy, like when he's there. But Rand touches his sword and responds with, by your leave, mother, I will stand. The watch is not done. And Swan immediately asks Moraine, has Lan been coaching him?
Coaching him.
Confirmed, right here. Yes.
The way he bowed, the way he walked into the room, everything.
That was
All of that's
what
great.
Crosses the courtyard.
Cat crosses the courtyard. Yeah, I remember that scene. I loved. That was somebody's favorite moment for sure.
Surely it was mine.
Yeah, I think it might have been all 3 of us.
Yeah,
Probably.
it is now.
But I just love the whole thing. Like, Lan is like an arrow loosed from a bow now. He's been given a purpose. Like you said, Joe, like it's like within minutes. He came out of the tent when he does his car turn stuff. He's only in his like loincloth or something, right? Like he's half
wearing
naked.
pants. He's got trousers on, but he hasn't got a shirt on.
Does he? Mm-hmm. Well, he goes back in the tent. He's got all his stuff ready. He's like, okay, I'm going now. Sorry, Myrelle, with all your plans and everything, like, all the sex we had, you might want to don't. He doesn't even look at her. He's just like, okay, let's go.
The funny thing there was that Egwene even saying, like, it's perhaps best that Nynaeve doesn't find out about this.
Myrelle
Because
and those things.
Myrelle might die.
Yeah, Myrelle will die.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, just so great. Love Lan. Love the fact that he's got a...
Lan is heading to Nynaeve, who is in Ebou Dar. Is this the book where she breaks her block? Because she's at the bottom of a river or something, and Lan has to save her.
Vili said no. But now I don't trust him because Vili said we don't read about Lan for books, and now we've read about him twice since then.
I think this guy's full of shit. Look at him. He's hiding.
I think he's deceiving us. Look at him, yes. Listeners,
we were
he's
all
hiding
deceived
behind his hands, looking like a sneaky little bastard.
I might be correct. I might be wrong. I've deceived you. I am, after all, on the dark sides.
Sauron.
You can lie.
I can lie. Do you want to hear me lie? I'm so good.
I had an honorable mention, which was all about Gareth Bryne ignoring Myrelle and just how great he is, and then the oath he gives Egwene. But you read it out already, Joe. So I will say to our listeners, send us your favorite moments and your thoughts and your theories and everything you want to say to us. You can do any of that by using the social media links in the episode description, where you can also find a link to our Discord and to our website with the t-shirt store, ways to leave voice messages. There are so many ways that you can interact with us, and we welcome all of them. Now, next time on Blood and Ashes, we will cover Chapter 13, called The Bowl of the Winds.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the bowl.
I always call it The Bowl of Winds, but it's just called The Bowl of the Winds. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to... And then we will go through to the end of Chapter 17, called The Triumph of Logic. That's right, Jody. 5 chapters. One of them is like 9
Jody
pages
count
long.
good. All right.
There's a quick one in there.
The chapter you just summarized, Jody, is 33 pages.
Yeah, I remember reading it. There were so many points
Just
in that chapter where it could have stopped at a satisfying conclusion. I thought, oh, that must be the end. Oh, no, wait. Oh, no, wait again.
No,
It's never ending.
Yeah, so next time we will do 5 whole chapters. But that's all for next time. So until then, I will say to you, sleep well and wake.
Adios.
We wait, because there's one more thing.
What?
I'm going to remind you that in this book, a total of perhaps only 3 days have passed in real time.
We'll leave you with that.
Okay. Go get it tattooed on your bodies, everyone.